survived to the present day. So cinnabar slash vermilion is very vulnerable to decay. So the takeaway here isn't that it's toxic, though yes, it's mercury, it's bad for you, but it's mobile, it's moving around the object. So any humidity you have, temperature fluctuations and all that can increase the mobilization of those elements. The more you keep this thing climate controlled and in a box and away from visible light, the longer that color is going to stay. But that color is particularly vulnerable to that. If you wanted to quantify the danger this object was in, what you would want to do, so I should point the camera, this is not very compelling TV because, yeah, if you wanted to preserve this object for the long term, what you'd want to do is use a technique called microfading. Have you guys heard of this? So microfading is where, visible light is more damaging to this guy than the XRF. The XRF is ionizing the internal electrons of the mercury. This guy is analyzing the sulfur-mercury bond itself, right? So every time it's fluorescing in light, it's being damaged at the same time. It's being bombarded by all these photons. Its electrons are moving around. So what you do with microfading is you take a portion of this, like a small sub-millimeter, and you blast it with the equivalent of the light it's going to experience for 100 years. And what you do is you can look at the fading of it, and then you can quantify that this thing can be on display for 90 years in standard museum lighting before this pigment is gone. Yeah, before it's ruined. So if you want to go crazy with future grants, that would be something you could do. You could figure out the budget for this mercury sulfide under ambient lighting conditions, and then that will help guide you in how to store it. That said, storing it in dark is always going to be the right answer. So
as far as handling, though, again, back to that question, safe handling of objects like this, gloves sufficient, we're not off-gassing, we're not aerosols.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about any of that.
Yeah, just the powder. Okay.
No, I mean, but that doesn't mean it couldn't be aerosolized if there was a big disruption or you dropped it or something. But I wouldn't be too worried about it. I wouldn't let my kid play with it, but that was true anyway.
That's not going to happen.
Yeah. So yeah.
Question. So we've hit the colors, we've hit some non-colored.
Yeah.
Anything else you feel we should test on this object to answer the toxin questions?
I think
the edge. I mean.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely want to do the edge because it's the majority of the object. Can we switch the camera back to the basket view?
Yes. I think you have to unshare your screen. Is that right or no?
I do.
No, I don't think we're okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Good job. You're doing fantastic. Thank you. Any questions from what we discussed earlier that came up?
There's not a question, but somebody did put, Gina Watkinson put in the chat an article, the link to an article about the basket itself.
Oh, awesome.
Or the type of basket, I'm assuming.
Awesome, Gina.
So we can save that for later, for
yes.
sure. Or if anyone else is interested.
Perfect. And that won't be on the test, by the way. That's purely extracurricular reading.
And then Anonymous just asked, do the natural cinnabar and synthetic mercuric sulfide degrade in more or less the same way?
That's a really good question. So the thing is what's degrading is the mercury sulfide bond. So the presence or absence of contaminants like silicates and all that, I don't think it's going to impact it too much. But I don't know. Like it might be having stuff that can defray the light a little bit at that near quantum level would help preserve it for a little longer. But it's the mercury sulfide bond in particular that's vulnerable, and that's going to be the same in both.
Then there's a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Can those two things, cinnabar and synthetic mercuric sulfide, can they be differentiated using the PXRF?
Yes, you want to look at contaminants, but the good news is so vermilion mercury sulfide is just that. There's mercury and there's sulfur, and that's it. But like cinnabar can have traces of zinc, titanium, gallium, aluminum silicates. There can be all kinds of stuff in there too. So it's really the traces that are going to tell you what's going on there. So it's the details. If you have a lot of details, it's not synthetic. If you have no details, it's probably synthetic. So yeah, the thing to remember, the older an object is, the less pure the materials in its construction, so the more little peaks you're going to see.
Should we do the edge?
Let's do the edge. All right, let me save this. I'm going to call that red pigment. All right, are you ready, Dr. Hamilton?
Ready.
All right, starting. this was pigmented. It doesn't look that way anymore, but it was. So if you look at our screen here, folks, do you see this big green peak right here? That is a lot of iron. There is either an ochre, probably an ochre pigment. If it was hematite, well, maybe I could see it being hematite. You can see a little bit of preservation right there. This had a pigment on it, and it's degraded, and it's hard to see now. You can probably see it in patches if you look really close. I'm actually thinking it might be hematite because I do see some red patches around
It's an
the edge.
iron peak. Wasn't there an iron peak on this ground as
There
well?
was, but not this high.
Okay.
This is skyscraper. Unless there's some metal underneath it, which I don't see because it looks like it's wood, right?
Yeah,
It's a little wood ring there.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think this has a degraded pigment on it. So the color you see here is very degraded.
Yes.
If you're looking at this right now, your blue would have been sharper. Your vermilion slash cinnabar has already degraded quite a bit, and the outer ring would have been yellow. So you can kind of repaint it in your mind looking at it here. But a lot of the pigments here have degraded. So, cool. But the good news is there's no toxic preservatives on this.
That's really good.
So, but you do have mercury, and mercury sulfide is not a super stable thing, so bear that in mind when storing it. You might want to treat it as toxic, even though it itself hasn't been treated toxically, if that makes sense. So,
I always heard that it's safe to handle with gloves in a store in low light. Should I add anything to that, or is that adequate?
Those are the two takeaways.
those are the two takeaways.
I think you already asked him the second question about the differentiated.
Yeah, I think.
What was that about the vermilion cinnabar difference? Yeah, we got to that. The answer is it's complicated but doable. That's probably going to be most of my answers, to be honest.
I thought you answered it, but I'm kind of lost
All right.
in that.
Excellent.
Okay, so we're done with this one?
I think we're good with this one.
Big shout out to the link sent in for articles about this item. I really appreciate that. This had been on long-term loan. We only got it back 2 weeks ago. We have no information about it and haven't had time to even research it yet. So I really appreciate that source sent to us.
Yeah.
Much love.
Thank you for that. All right, we'll be looking at next.
We have a number of items here. Would you mind putting this on our card down there?
I think if I can make a request, let's prioritize diversity of object for folks now.
Okay.
So if we come back and measure a ton of baskets toward the end, people who've had their curiosity about baskets,
Okay. I was trying to stage it so we maximize our time up and down the stairs. Okay, so this is, okay, so Celeste, we've got 7316. All right, how's my camera doing there? Are we on this camera here?
Yes, you are. I see it.
I can see it. Okay, so what we have here is a club, and recently we discovered in our archives an old tag that goes with this club, and the tag indicates that it was acquired from whoever wrote this tag in the 1890s, and is probably Sioux, and it claims to have been used in conflict, but given its excellent condition, I'm skeptical that it was used. I think it's more likely. The camera's dropped out here.
Has it?
Well, that's back on.
Yeah.
I think it was more likely, display or possibly ceremonial, something like this, because it doesn't have any real damage other than the decay of time. And once again, our question here is, do we have any kind of application of arsenic, lead, etc., either as part of conservation or perhaps as part of manufacturing that will lead us to handle this with special precautions? I don't see any coloring or pigments, but as we just discovered, maybe we used to have some and they're no longer with us. We have a quartz stone here, and the rest appears to be rawhide or some version thereof. Presumably inside of this is a branch or other flexible handle that's been wrapped for reinforcement.
All right. So I'm going to share my screen again. Zoom has this really interesting like screen randomizer, so it's really taking a second to find where you want to go. All right, but we're back. All right. So here, the good news is we don't really have to worry about a background because this guy is going to be about as thick as we can measure everywhere. And if we do have a background, it's going to be styrofoam. So I think we're good. What I would like to start with is the shaft, if that's all right, Dr. Hamilton.
So there's sort of a naked shaft, and then there's like a grip.
Yeah. I would do the naked shaft first, and then let's look at the grip. And I'm okay with if it's more convenient to analyze down here or up here, whichever one's easiest for you.
Yep, I'll do on the side here because it also
Yep.
looks like there's something woven
Okay.
in there. So
That works.
this looks like the wood.
Yep. Excellent. And when you're ready, let me know.
Okay, ready.
This kind of looks like the coffee. All right, so let's take a moment and see what we have here. So you see a lot of elements here. The first thing we see, I'm going to start from beginning to end. So the first thing we see here, that's right there, is some silicon. The silicon is coming from dirt over time, which is packed in there. So there's a fair bit of dust and all that. I also see some phosphorus, which tells me right away that there's animal. This is a leather, right?
Yeah,
We're looking at leather wrapped around the branch, right?
Looks like it, yeah.
So that would explain all this sulfur too. Generally speaking, animal products always have lots of phosphorus and sulfur. Always a ton of it. So anytime you see a big sulfur spike when you're measuring something organic, it's a giveaway that this is an animal product. It can sometimes be a plant, but it's usually animal. We see a lot of potassium, more than the banana, in fact. We see calcium as well. See a little bit of titanium. That's not because of any modern restoration work. That's the dirt and the dust that's mixed in. Iron. And then out here, we've got some peaks too. So these peaks here, let's make this bigger. So over here, we have a little bit of zinc. Not too surprising. This is nickel right here. That's part of the X-ray tube. And I see let's change the color. No, we don't have arsenic, but we do have lead. And, very interesting, we have bromine. Br, bromine. That's a halide. That's a salt.
Oh.
That is definitely put there on purpose. And it's put there on purpose because this thing is loaded in chlorine. Do you remember when I talked about potassium and rubidium, calcium and strontium? That's also true of chlorine and bromine. This is salt washed. So they tanned this with a salt solution, and that's how it's preserved. It's not toxic. It doesn't taste good, but it's not toxic. So yeah, this is not preserved in anything dangerous. We'll look at a couple of the other components, but this would be salt washed. So this is fine. Let's take one additional measurement on this woven strap here. And that actually makes more sense. Ethnographic, like that was the tradition of most groups in North America with salt wash objects. All right. Whenever you're ready, let me know.
And ready.
Yeah, this was really concentrated salt to have the very small amount of bromine that might be there present. Yeah, and these leather straps, they have more sulfur, they have more potassium, calcium, they're much more organic. They also have more salt too. Yeah, it's evidenced in the more increased bromine and chlorine, so it's more of the same. More of the same.
And that was on the grip?
Yeah, that's on the grip too. So all salt washed.
Any other part of this one that stands out that we should take a look at?
So I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to grab Is it okay if I handle this object? So
Is it okay if you?
Is it okay if I handle this object a little bit?
Yes, which object do we have? This one?
This guy right here.
Yes, it's pretty stable, but just be aware that it's very obviously top-heavy to this end.
Yeah,
It's going to
yeah.
want to flip over.
I'm just going to point at a
And some of
specific
these are
variant of it.
a bit loose here.
So I can tell you this has been used because look how smooth the quartz is here, and look how rugose it is right there. You see all the peck. It's like a hammerstone. You know when it's got the little pecks on the edge.
Yeah.
You've got pecks on this guy here too. So it absolutely is used. Maybe not a lot, but you see rugosity on this tip right here in particular. That's not
Yeah.
present on the smooth surface.
Well, not to be skeptical, but I did have some questions about, some of these objects may have been used, but by after the fact.
Oh yeah, possible. Yeah.
Demonstrating. Well, look how this works.
Yeah, that's certainly
30,
possible.
40, 50 years ago, people might, use the hammerstone.
Yeah, no, I could.
Wear the regalia.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
At least in a museum context.
Yeah. I couldn't tell you when it was used. I can only tell you that there's rugosity on the ends here. If I found this without the shaft on the ground, I'd say,
Okay.
yeah.
My comment earlier was because the original tag, it said it was used in quote unquote many battles. My impression was
that's drama.
My impression is this has not been used in many battles. It would
No.
be probably damaged, repaired. I mean, just looking at it in a cursory glance, it doesn't seem to have a lot
Yeah.
of use. It could have been in the battle, but maybe it wasn't actually employed.
I mean, it could have even just been used to hammer in some wood
Yeah, it
too.
feels
Like
a bit like a antique store kind of, markup to claim it was used in
Maybe,
battle,
maybe.
this kind of thing.
Yeah, but the ends do show rugosity, so at the very least, so the hammerstone itself portion was used. Whether
Was
it's
used to hit something at
Whether it's
some
used
point.
in the way they're saying, I couldn't tell you. All right. Although there would be a little bit of iron on the edges if there was any preserved
Okay,
blood.
did I get a show the details?
All right.
Next subject, or did we want to test anything on the hammerstone?
Well, we can look at the rock and then the used edge too. Who I
If you
take
like
a peek
that.
real quick.
Or we move on to the next one? If we don't think we'll.
Can your XRF read obscure text? Is it also a microscope?
Some people have used it for mapping, but no, not that way. The other shaft.
There's a question.
Yeah.
1 minute.
What's up?
From Anonymous. Methyl bromide pesticides, some that contain chlorine, have been used in the past to treat organic objects in museum collections.
Yeah.
Some people have reported residues from that treatment that can be detected via PXRF. How can we tell the difference between salt wash leather and whether the CL and BR are residues from pesticide treatment?
So it's going to be quantity, right? So like a salt wash, chlorine is just going to be screaming. If there's methyl bromide, I would assume the bromine would be much higher because the elemental formula would require a ton more bromine. It's possible there's I don't know how much methyl bromide you would use to preserve if it's a very light touch, but just the difference between the chlorine and the bromine piece was night and day. Like this really was a lot of chlorine, so that's why I interpreted salt wash. But quantity would be my answer. But I'm not an authority. If anyone disagrees, definitely let the group know. I'm here to learn as well. So.
Do you want to do the next one, or?
Yeah, let's go to the next one. I got this one.
All right.
Probably, this is my bad, we probably should put, our first two objects had their own padding. This next one has no padding.
Do you want me to grab something from 1190?
Well, we can measure this wood first while you find padding for the other
Okay.
guys.
Grab some.
Yeah, just use a phone. So we're not setting this on this table. I mean, the table's not a bad table. Okay, so here we have another mystery object. As I mentioned, a bit of our collection history. Many objects came 130 years ago and since then, and some of them we have donor information for, some of them we do not. This is an object that doesn't even have an inventory number. It just had letter F. So I don't really know exactly what this is. It appears to be a handle. At one point I thought maybe it could go to a spindle whorl. It's got this groove. You can see this here. groove kind of on the tip where the string is tied for the tag. So not quite sure what this is, but again, right now we're trying to answer the question, was it treated with anything toxic? Yes. So, all right.
You're gonna have to share your screen again. I switched it remotely.
Yeah, not a problem. Not a problem. So let's go ahead and share that screen. We want to go back to Artax. And I've saved these two guys, so I'm going to clear this. And this, I think, is just going to be a spot measurement. So I'm going to do a task, get this into position.
I'll get some more fun because literally these baskets are sitting down here too. The bidding one was way different than the lab. Probably, yeah. I probably should do.
It occurs to me as I measure this, I almost never hold this thing in my left hand.
I
So,
was gonna put that card in.
all right. So we have a ton of stuff here.
A few things that-
Let's start from the beginning like before.
Time each thing would take, depending on the questions. The basket obviously was a really interesting.
So first things first, a lot of silicon. We see a lot of sulfur too, which is surprising because it looks like a wood object.
Pieces, we could just cover the baskets up.
I'm afraid it's just kind of heavy. But press it down.
There is a lot of chlorine in this one as well. Potassium. A lot of calcium. A lot of calcium. A little bit of titanium as before. A lot of iron.
Wow, that seems kind of
A
unexpected.
lot of zinc. A lot of zinc.
That's a surprising variety in this what appears to
Yes,
be
it
simply
is.
a chunk of wood.
Yes, it is. A little bit of lead too.
So I may play the
Yeah.
host like of all those archaeology shows that plays like they don't know anything.
Yeah.
In this case, I don't actually know anything, but
You think it was
that
aliens?
feels like a surprising
Yeah.
amount of stuff to be in this stick.
Yeah, it is. Well, so the sulfur, I think there's some kind of animal fat that's been rubbed into this guy as like a preservative or something. Because like the sulfur doesn't make any sense for a wooden object.
It does have some markings like it's been wet before, that
Yeah.
kind of look
Yeah.
of something that's got wet and then
Yeah.
dried.
And then a lot of chlorine and a little bit of bromine as well. So
So
my
this-
guess would be salt wash based on the high quantity of chlorine. But
Something so simple and yet so
Yeah.
complicated.
Yep, that one was much busier than I would have guessed.
Okay.
All right, and then Dr. Hamilton got us some foam for.
Note to those watching at home, this is not our good foam. This is our need some foam this moment, but we will get our good foam out soon enough.
All right.
Now this is another interesting object. This is one of those, this is not what the tourists were buying in the 1890s. This is what the anthropologists were picking up. Looks like a handle for perhaps an axe. You see
See that? Yeah.
here let me get around, turn on here. We refreshed yet? Hafting here for we have some, whoops, kind of slow down. It's got a spot here to haft something like an axe, I think. And we got a little bit of camera freeze going on.
Yeah. Did we lose an internet connection?
It was trying to connect to my data before, so I
Ooh.
just let it.
Do you want to connect to Wi-Fi
That would
instead?
be awesome.
Yeah,
Maybe
let's
around
fix that real
drop-off.
quick. Here, just a minute.
Okay, we're back on.
Yeah, I can see you.
Okay, are we good?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, so as I was trying to say, we've got, let me get this position. Hafting here for an axe or something, remnants of some rawhide wraps, and then this end is wrapped as well, but it's also split, so not sure if that was supposed to be a handle or just an ad hoc repair. Then it's covered in something like clay, looks like a white clay, and it has a tag on it. One of these tags, it's got two tags actually. One is some kind of old catalog that's all covered in the clay as well, which makes me think this object got dirty like this after it had been collected and tagged. And also this other tag also has this clay on it. And the original tag says Apache, and I can't read the other part. It's like 1890s handwriting. So any 1890s writing experts, can you see that tag?
Yeah.
No.
right here?
No, it's too hard to see, but I can kind of see the writing.
Okay, so I was just curious mostly, again, if this has our arsenic or lead and what this clay is, although given that the clay is secondary to the object, that may be less interesting from a research perspective, but it might also be interesting to know, is this clay something we should be avoiding? Perhaps
Nope. Good to know. So what we'll do first is let's analyze the blankest area of wood that we can find on this. I would guess right here.
Yeah.
See where that is?
Yep.
If you can get that. I'm going to share my screen once more.
Okay, ready when you are.
All right.
On the shaft.
The wood, blank wood of the shaft.
Just a moment. All right, so I'm going to clear this. And starting. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
And when you get a second, it's not just the
Oh, sorry.
All right, got it. So we're going to take a look here. I see aluminum. That's actually too much aluminum to be traced from this guy. A lot of silicon, so there's obviously some dirt that's blown in on this guy. A lot of phosphorus and sulfur. So I would interpret that to be, once again, treated with some kind of animal fats. No chlorine this time, so we don't have a salt-washed object, which I suspect is probably related to its rougher look compared to the other two. Salt washes are great. Potassium and calcium, because it's made of wood, and that's what we see with wood. A lot of titanium, because we have that silicate mixed in. We've got a little bit of manganese, a ton of iron. So this iron is definitely a pigment in origin. And then I don't see any nasties. Maybe a trace of lead, but it's not very compelling to me.
So the big interesting thing here is there's no salt wash,
No salt wash.
and that there's some pigment
Yeah.
that's.
I'm guessing we're going to measure this. Yeah, these yellow spots, and the iron's going to shoot up. Let's go ahead and do that right now. All right.
So like this.
Yeah, one of those clay spots that he was talking about. Let's see what it is. We'll either see aluminum and silicon shoot up if it's a clay, or if it's an ochre, or both, frankly, because ochres are often can be mixed in with something to make it more neutral.
I need a gloved hand to hold this guy still. It's too rolly. Okay,
All right, are you ready?
ready.
Starting.
And we're testing a pigment?
The clay.
The clay.
Okay.
No, that's not what I thought it was going to be. All right, got it. So in green here is the pigmented section. A ton of calcium. This is a plaster.
Oh.
And it's got some iron mixed in with it, so I'm guessing a little bit of iron in the plaster gives it that yellowish hue. So this whole thing might have been plastered over maybe, and it just, because it, crumbles, you just have splotches left.
So you think the iron we saw on the wood is just some residue from plaster that used to be there?
Or it was repainted or something. I do see zinc in this guy too, which is unusual. A little more lead in this. The zinc is a bit of a tell that that the plaster is not old. But yeah, no, it's some kind of plaster. That's odd. It's the one thing I can tell you is it is calcium carbonate, not a calcium sulfate, for what it's worth.
What does that mean?
That means, well, let me check. Yeah, so calcium sulfate would be gypsum, CaSO4. We would see the sulfur peak increase commensurate with the calcium peak. Because we don't see that, it's calcium carbonate, CaCO3. So, excellent. Anything else on this? I guess the leather, yeah. All right, let me add these guys on here. So, And you're taking notes on each object number and what we find? Great. All right, are you ready for the analysis, Dr.
Ready.
Hamilton?
And so now we're doing the bridge.
Yes.
Bridge, yes. Excellent, got it. So what we have here is basically more of the same. Once again, no evidence of any kind of treatment at all. At least if there is a treatment, it's not something with anything inorganic. A lot of silicates are coming up, a lot more sulfur, calcium and potassium because it's wood, a lot more titanium than we saw earlier, and plenty of iron, and a little bit of zinc. So not too different than the rest, all things considered.
So what's the take home on this thing?
Not treated.
Not treated.
That would be my interpretation.
And so it's just got some kind of clay splattered all over it. And this is really a mysterious item because it seems like it's straight up axe handle.
Uh-huh.
That was labeled and collected. And why is it covered in all this clay that covers the tag?
Plaster.
Plaster. Oh yeah. So maybe somebody.
Calcium carbonate.
Maybe this was a victim of a remodeling project.
Yeah.
That the object wasn't covered or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a sad thought.
Someone spraying plaster,
Yeah. I don't. The only thing I can say is plaster. Could be accidental. This could have been they could have been working with plaster on something else, and this was just nearby.
Yeah. So this was.
Oh, that's what you're saying. Yeah.
Is that what we done here?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We got it.
All right. So.
And then this is the nice version of what we just looked at, right?
Yes. So just for those at home, how many people do we have still on 32? Okay. So, sorry. If you're wondering, our sticks, all we have, another handle here, no tags, no nothing. This is 73-218. Just checking again for any treatments. After this one, we will do a headdress. So for those of you looking for a little shake it up, we'll do a headdress next that has a lot of different complicated components.
Yeah. Cool. All right, are you ready? Here's that. I think we just need to measure the wood on this
Yeah,
one.
this looks pretty uniform.
Yeah, wherever's
Okay.
most comfortable. I'm gonna start sharing the screen here.
Ready when you are.
And thanks for kicking me off each time. Oh no, really, I appreciate not having to do that myself.
You're welcome.
All right, are you ready, Dr. Hamilton?
Yep, ready?
Starting.
And this is a bare wood section, that's all.
Yes, that's pretty much all we have on this one. I think it's just going to be.
All right, I lost connection. This is just the Wi-Fi network, so just give me a second. Device connect. Reconnecting. All right, restarting. Ready?
Yep.
For those watching at home, the Wi-Fi connection here has been unusually stable, and I feel a little more secure now that we're seeing the disconnects. Yeah, this is wood. There's no salt, just like before, no salt wash,
Interesting.
calcium, potassium. There's
But
a
no
lot of
plaster,
silicates
no
mixed
plaster
in.
attachments on this.
No, nothing like that.
Okay,
So yeah, no lead or mercury either. This is perfectly fine.
okay, great. That's easy.
Yeah. All right.
Should we do this last?
We already did this
We already
guy.
did that one? Oh, I missed
Yeah.
that.
So we got all these guys on top.
Okay, great.
I think it's the headdress next, right?
The bare wood came back.
Just, it's
Yeah,
just wood.
same.
Just
Wood.
wood.
Okay, this will be a bit more challenging because it is, more fragile. It's
And
mounted.
it's gonna be complicated, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think we can let go of this.
Yeah.
We also don't want to leave this out here too long because of issues of moisture and so forth.
Yes. And wind, I'd imagine.
Yeah, so we might, we'll see if this is, can we test it through the cellophane?
So are you doing this outside over?
I don't think we can go through the cellophane, but we can keep the cellophane up and kind of
It's a bit
keep
windy.
it wrapped.
Let me see
Yeah.
what- Well, what reason cellophane is on there because it wants to slump. And so it's been stored.
Yeah, so I brought my own.
Well, if you want to send
So,
the cellophane
so
kind of in
go
place,
ahead
we can
and
work
go
around
get
you with the
that.
tracer to take the measurements.
We're gonna take a second to set this up,
I
and
think it's stable
And
enough.
not
The
boil up,
winds
just
are
volunteer
gusting
data
more
plan.
than it should.
We can just rush in.
all right, so settings. I can take it from here. By
Okay, so this is, 73-111. after we do a couple more things, if it doesn't script flow too much, get these guys in doing some of the marketing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we get enough, they've seen the process.
I think switching my job out with either of them is going to be.
So sorry, you've been doing this so
Oh, no,
far.
it's
This is
okay.
obviously not the one to start.
I've been on
with.
EDU
This is
Realm and then it
too
decided to crap out on me.
Yeah.
So.
All
Okay,
right.
so brief overview here. We
There we
have
go. We're back
a
on.
headdress. We don't know much about it other than possibly Sioux from the plains. And you see it's beaded on the front. It's got eagle feathers, felt against felt backing. And then it's got these beautiful sort of secondary feathers attached to the tops of the eagle feathers. And then on the bottom here at the back, I can't tip it over for you, but you see here hanging down additional horsehair or something that's all been dyed different colors. And so on the basis of what we know about our collections, we think there's a good chance that these feathers may contain lead and that the felt may contain arsenic. So we're going to see what we can do to do this in a stable fashion. It's got leather, of course, for the cap.
Yeah. All right.
So the feathers and the felt are sort of our first orders of business here.
Yep. So
I think so.
what we're going to do here, this is one of those scenarios where safety gets much more challenging given the nature of the object, right? Because the X-rays are going to blast right through these feathers. What we're going to want to do is I think you want to measure at this side here, so the X-rays are going in a smoke part here,
And no
and
one is
then
over
no one will be
here.
back there. Exactly right.
Okay, here we go.
All right. I'm going to share screen. So we're starting with the feathers.
All right, we're on.
All right, give me a moment.
Yep.
This will take just a second. All right, so, all right, ready?
Ready?
Got it. Thank you. All right, so what we have here, opening up our periodic table, we're looking at silicon, a ton of sulfur, a ton of it, a little bit of chlorine, potassium and calcium, some iron, and I've got good news for you. There's some bromine, and there might be a trace of lead, but this is not a ton of lead on this, or mercury or
So
anything.
this is,
These feathers are not toxic.
that's interesting. So maybe this came out of a different collection that was not treated.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Well, it's I see bromine, and there's chlorine too, so there's definitely there's halides on it, which obviously, you know, the halides themselves are going to knock bacteria back on their feet. So, this is salt washed. There's also just a phenomenal amount of sulfur, and I don't know if that's inherent to bird feathers. I've not measured eagle feathers before, but the sulfur is absolutely off the charts on this. But there is absolutely chlorine too.
Interesting, and that was the felt?
Yeah,
That was the feathers.
Sorry.
yeah. It could have been that they were washed in some kind of oil to help them too, or
Should we
fat.
do the string?
Yeah, I think that's, if we can, yeah. So we're going to do the blue string on the bottom of the feathers here. So if you're watching at the very base down here,
Yeah.
I'm going to add this spectrum here.
Is this just the feathers?
The blue string on the base of the feathers.
Oh, sorry, give me just a second here. Red node.
Standing too close to the ear. I don't know if it's acting up. I keep
So that's clearly a hazard that should be somewhere else.
All right.
Ready?
Yeah, let me know when you're ready. Okay, starting. All right, got it. So what do we have here? We have, once again, a just absolutely off the charts amount of sulfur present. So a ton of sulfur, no evidence of chlorine, a little bit of potassium, a little bit of calcium, a little bit of iron. Now, and we've got a lot of mercury. So there's mercury on the blue here.
And what would be your best guess of what
Well,
that's?
so the mercury is absolutely not a pigment because this is blue. The only pigment I know of, if anyone listening knows of any others, the only pigment I would know would be, can you guys
What's
see?
the question? I'll blast it out.
We've got a bunch of mercury on the blue string,
Okay.
and we don't know of any pigments that are blue that use mercury, so we don't think it's pigment. So
Yeah,
it's got to be some sort of treatment, some mercury treatment on the string specifically that was not on the feathers, right?
yeah. I don't think it's pigmental like there was in the basket. I could be wrong. I just don't know why you would. There's no cinnabar vermilion on this thing. So yeah, the feathers are salt washed. The blue string here, though, may have been treated with mercury. as a
Should we do the
preservative.
felt down below the
Yeah,
string?
absolutely.
That was
Absolutely. So can you get in there?
the other. Yeah.
The nose should be narrow enough to do you can do a vertical too, I think. It's going to be wider than the spot anyway.
Nope, can't fit through the frame,
Oh, okay.
but I can come in from the back here.
All right.
All right, so this is the felt.
String. All right. Turning this off. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, all right. So our battery died, but I did get a quick spectrum,
I'll get a fresh battery.
and that is vermilion. So maybe it's contamination from the red. Well, that doesn't make any sense to me. How do you get all the way up there?
And that was on not the red part of the felt, that was the gray felt.
That was the gray felt.
Brown felt.
Yeah, so the
whatever
gray
color
felt
you
is
call that.
packed with mercury. So that's not pigmental either. Absolutely packed with mercury. So the feathers are fine. Everything else is terrible.
So that was, I missed, I was looking at the question. Did you already answer the question earlier about recommendations for safely handling objects treated with lead or arsenic?
Yes, yeah, we answered that earlier, yeah.
Okay, sorry I missed that. I was running around.
Yes, no worries.
Kind of bring my
What
way.
was your answer? Basically, wear masks and gloves.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I've seen a whole variety, some people won't get in the same room with it, other people are like, it's no big deal.
Yeah,
It feels like it's about the length of your exposure really is critical, so
yeah.
if you're handling these all day, every day, even small amounts.
Oh, yeah, then you need to do much more. Yeah, but if consistent storage, I think, yeah. But in any case, the key thing here, Andy, the blue string here and the gray felt are just packed with mercury. The gray felt is
Do
just
you think
a ton of mercury.
is that,
Oh, it's not, because we have two different colors, blue and gray, neither of which, like
I
red,
think
like,
that's not it's a treatment, not a sort of.
yeah, it's a treatment, yeah.
Because it almost feels like if the string is treated, maybe even treated before it was.
I'm actually wondering if the string is just getting the mercury that's mobile. Because like mercury doesn't stay very well, so this
How
blue
would you
string,
treat something like, here's the thing I don't know. Maybe our museum experts could tell me. Yeah, I've always heard that arsenic, they would just sort of dump the powder all over it.
yeah.
I don't know how do you treat something with the same thing, mercury powder? You just kind of powder it with mercury?
I've not worked in using that kind of mercury in that kind of application.
I'm just wondering,
setting, yeah.
if this was treated that way, I don't know, when they would have done that, 1910, 1930, something.
Somewhere around there, yeah, turn of the century.
Would they, how were they applying the mercury? Like painting it on or dumping powder, fogging it? I mean, I'm just curious how they would have.
I don't know. The thing is, mercury is liquid at room temperature, so you could theoretically just put a sheen of it on if that's what you're doing. Yeah, but I wouldn't know.
Because
Arsenic would be absolutely
I've never heard
powderized.
of mercury treatments.
I don't know how you would get a powderized mercury.
Yeah.
I really don't. I think it'd have to
They're
be a
painting
liquid.
it on, they probably got a jar of it. or
Yeah,
something.
if anyone listening to this has any insight, please let us know. But I can't imagine it was anything other than liquid. But yeah, the gray felt is mercury.
Should we do the
mercury.
red? Is that a ribbon down below it?
Yeah, we can do
There's a
it.
red
But
ribbon
like the
below it?
mercury is going to overwhelm it. But we can do the ribbon, absolutely.
Or, I mean, if you think it's just going to be overwhelmed by that, we could do the beads and things instead, or I don't know what else we wanted to.
Yeah, Andy, what else would you like to look at on this guy?
Okay, so we got the felt, we got
Yep.
the yarn on the feather, we got the feathers.
Yeah.
I guess the only other thing would be if we want to get, we've got these different pigments in what I think is horsehair tassels.
Oh, yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Are any of those potentially toxic
Ooh,
treatments?
measuring these is,
Can we get the plate?
yes, that's exactly
You
right.
can also, of course, run the beads. I'm sure these are, all standard glass beads with all the
Yeah.
standard, standard.
They're going to be like,
colors.
it's going to be like glass, chrome yellow, yeah.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do here, I don't know if you guys can see this. This is a background plate.
I'll put my camera here.
Yeah, please do. Take over my screen so folks can see it.
Cancel the spotlight video. Actually, I think I've got to shut your screen off.
Yeah, go ahead. Please do.
But Dr. Drake, for the gray felt with the mercury, the only notable.
Yeah.
There we go. Back on.
Great. So what we're going to do, we want to measure these the what we think are horsehair tassels right here. The problem is this is not really safe to measure in any circumstance with the XRF. What we can do is use this background plate here. This can absorb the extra radiation that's going to go through the other side, and it's doable here. So what you'll want to do, and Andy, let me know if this is okay. Can she measure down on them like this?
You can. I was also going to
I
say-
wouldn't like the hand be holding it.
I was also going to say that these are, well,
I can balance
some of them are
them.
longer. You could untie them and let them lie down, potentially.
I don't want
So
These
for
here,
example,
but,
here. I think Dr. Hamilton has it.
but ideally, we would
Yeah.
rather tie
Can you do
those.
that?
Yeah.
All right. If you want, can you do that yourself, or would you like someone to help you hold it?
I've got this. It's actually better with fewer.
Okay.
Let me get a shot of this methodology here.
I'm gonna share screen.
Next slide show. Very show how to use the plates.
All right.
Okay, that should be good.
Okay, let me add.
That's good.
All right. So close this. All right, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Starting. I think we lost the connection again. I'm sorry. No, the battery. Did it change?
Yeah, I changed it. Did you reconnect?
No. All right, guys. I'm so sorry. Connect. Go ahead and relax. This is going to take a second. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm just going to hold this like this rather than trying to
It only weighs
reposition
17 pounds, right?
it.
I need to.
It's not reconnected.
Yeah,
Okay.
I need to work with this thing a little bit.
Here you go.
All right, so just a second. Technical difficulties with the battery change. So I'm going to call this mercury belt file, save project as, I'm going to restart the software to UNC workshop, close this. Yes, all right. So now we need to reconnect to Wi-Fi here.
That's weird.
Oh, you didn't, I'm going to have to log off.
That's really weird. Her phone is showing her like whole screen.
All right.
Yeah.
Might want to switch to it. Maybe just a
Oh,
nice
yeah,
still of the
yeah.
headdress.
What are we seeing now? I don't know what's going on here.
Anyone who's like me, they're looking at this desktop and currently having a heart attack, so you're going to want to switch over to the headdress.
I'm sorry on my desktop, everyone. I expend zero effort organizing things on my
Is that your
computer.
desktop?
You see this desktop, and you also know that he's got 20,000 unread emails sitting in his inbox.
So we're on these. Okay. I see.
Some of them very possibly my workshop participants today.
I thought
so.
that was on Elizabeth's phone. I thought that was Elizabeth's phone for a second, but what on earth?
All
My
right.
desktop is like a eye test or something. Like you have 30 seconds to spot the Adobe app. Go. All right. It's a slippery slope. You save one or two things. That's what I do. I save one or two, and pretty soon I got 47. I'm like, no. Time for folders.
Okay,
Uh-oh. Gloves are off, folks.
Yes, that's to restart.
It's getting real.
Yeah, sorry, this will just be just a second. Let me switch the battery over. I don't think it remembers the Wi-Fi.
We need one of those please stand by slides.
Yeah, right.
Some nice jazzy elevator music in the background.
You have questions on bar?
All right, now I can connect.
This phone system is working much better than I could have hoped. Thank you, Elizabeth, for
Okay,
your
we're
phone
ready,
to the
hon.
cause.
All right.
Much better than the camcorder I was going to use.
All right. Did you get that okay, Dr. Hamilton? All right. Ready?
Not quite. Oops. All right, there we go.
Okay. Taking a measurement.
Did you say you were recording this session as part of things?
I didn't set this session up, so I hope someone hit record, but I did not do that.
Okay. Now we are.
So we weren't recording earlier.
No, sorry.
All
So we
right.
recorded the workshop part and then,
I don't know that we recorded the workshop part. It said recording, but then I couldn't find the file.
But he had a friend who said he recorded it.
Yes, someone else recorded it. All right,
Now
so
we're recording.
first
For
there.
some reason I thought it was recording from your side.
All right, so no mercury on this one. So these guys are totally in the clear.
can we guess what's making that red color with the dye? is?
Yes, it's iron. It's hematite. Lots of iron. Lots of sulfur once again. No evidence of a ton of chlorine. So these might not have anything on them. The hair tailing. What do you call these again? I'm
I
sorry.
call them tassels, for lack
Tassels,
of a
okay.
better word. There may be a more technical term in relation to headdresses, but
Yeah.
I would consider them tassels.
Okay.
Is it basic descriptor?
Yep. All right. Yeah. This is just a hematite color. That's pretty
You
much
want to do
it.
the yellow ones too?
If you'd like to, if it's easy.
No, these ones are going to be harder because they're.
Aye, that's the rub, my friend.
I mean, the good news. Yeah. I wouldn't worry about it. Yeah. The only other thing I would want to do on this is there's these upper feathers here. Do you
Yeah.
see them? If there's a way we can,
I'd have to hold the plate, I think.
yeah. I can't think of an easy way to do this safely while keeping them on the
Yeah.
object.
Okay.
If
So,
it's too complicated, we don't need
Yeah.
to.
all right. But the answer is this thing is absolutely treated with mercury. So,
Okay. Well, that's not good to know, but glad I know.
yeah.
It's
Not
not
good,
good
but
to
glad
know.
we know.
Yeah, it's not good that I know, but glad I know. Okay, could I trouble someone to maybe help me sort of hold that there? Need to turn this around.
The obstacles.
Oh, are you going to?
Okay, and here, select the just go down with a gentle open. Second, we got a fold over here. But I'm gonna,
I'm doing a very bad job helping.
it's gonna open that here. It's not gonna, no, okay, that's okay.
Does that look okay?
Let me just lift it up a little. If you can,
Oh, share the screen with the spectral data. Yes. I was confused by that. Oh, that's all right. Someone asked to see the spectrum of horsehair. and I had forgotten to share the screen.
Sorry.
Thank you for the reminder. Oh, no, it's my fault. So yeah, so here is we were only able to measure one of the tassels.
Take over doing some XRF.
We see the iron here, the iron peak here. But other than that, there's not a ton. So, we don't see a big chlorine peak over here. No bromine, certainly no lead or mercury on the tassels. So yeah, the tassels don't seem to be treated with anything. At least if it is, it's not reflected in the organic data we have here. So thank you for the question. Sorry, I forgot to share the screen on that last section. And then safety question. If the handheld instrument has to be in contact with the sample, and the sample has arsenic, lead, or mercury, do you need to do anything to clean the instrument off before using it again? That is an excellent question. The answer really depends on the structure of it. Typically speaking, for the surface, the answer is often no, because the contact is not usually strong enough. But, with some of the arsenic objects in particular, when it's powderized, there's a risk of that as well. But, the risk isn't just exclusive to that. When I was at a museum a few years ago, we analyzed a giraffe that was coated in arsenic. It was just shocking. And it was on display, no glass barriers. And we could find arsenic all over the ground of the museum because of just how much it had packed. So when it comes to powderized arsenic, absolutely. I think you want to consider cleaning it. But the good news is this is testable. You don't have to follow, my advice on this. Measure a water bottle. If you measure a water bottle filled with water, the reflectance is going to pick up any contaminants that are on the surface of the XRF. So if any powderized arsenic managed to make it onto the XRF window, you'd know right away from that measurement. And in fact, what some people often do in much more scientific contexts is they'll have a check standard that they measure at the start and end of every day using XRF samples. And so that way, if there's any contaminant that's introduced, they can then pinpoint what day it was introduced on. So generally speaking, do a check sample to start and end the day session. Or if there's an immediate point of concern, you can use a water bottle or anything that's going to be elementary neutral. So nothing that's going to show up in the XRF peaks to really highlight any contaminants on the device itself. So excellent question. How do you recommend cleaning the powderized arsenic? I would, so these windows are removable. They're just stickers. So I would pitch it and I'd put it on a new one. I would not even try to clean up the arsenic in that case. If the arsenic is inside the instrument, if you look here, the little window here is sealed by plastic. This should protect the detector and everything else that is in there. Oh, sorry. Thank you. So I'm going to get in close here. Can you see the window okay? Yes, if you see the clear window there, as long as this is sealed and all that, all the internal components of this are going to be fine. If this is ruptured and you've got any kind of powderized material, you do risk contaminating the detector. That way? Okay. If you do get anything in there, keep in mind the plastic here is only 4 micrometers prolene. It's extremely thin. It's easy to tear, so you do want to monitor that. All the objects we've measured here don't really pose much of a risk, but that's not always going to be the case. So yeah, if you get anything on the inside of the instrument, you either have to live with it forever or spend thousands of dollars to replace the components. As I was telling these folks earlier, one of the biggest mistakes I used to work for the company that manufactured this. I was actually on the design team for this particular instrument. So any hate mail you have regarding its design, you can send to anyway. But in any case, one of the older instruments, I had a rupture. I put some rare earth powder on it, and it got all over the detector. So everything measured by that unit had that as a contaminant, and we decided to live with it because it was just a demo instrument. But that we also had to recalibrate everything. It was a pain. But these, you can see here, it's just a sticker, you pop it up. And every manufacturer does this. They make the nose replaceable. So so it's always replaceable. They might charge you a ton for the replacement, but it's replaceable. But I would not try to clean powderized arsenic if it's on the surface. That's an excellent question. Thank you. Sorry.
There we go. Now we have a nice.
Excellent.
So if you use next, and Plus is going to step in and do some of the
absolutely. Here.
the work there.
Here's Milnor.
Milnor?
Milnor 2.
Milnor 2. Milnor 2 in the Chamber of Secrets. I miss Milmar.
This is a point and shoot, right?
So all you need to do is hold it in place. We'll control it remotely from here. So we're going to share screen again. Can you tell us about this object?
These are, so let's.
Oh.
Please talk to me.
No, you can answer. They're just, I actually don't know the provenance of these.
Okay.
They're
But like little
moccasins, yeah.
All right.
We don't have provenance, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Plains.
Yep.
Plains moccasins.
Plains moccasins.
All right. So I need to, yep, this is all saved. Close this.
Yes. 73.1.4. And do you think we should start with just?
Yeah, just the plain leather bundle. But you see how this is folded over and there's beads right there? So
Uh-huh.
you might get the beads underneath.
Okay.
I would actually measure this side right here where you've got more of a blank area. Feel free to move the box and all that.
Yeah, okay.
So that way you can
the
be
box as
parallel.
well if it's
Actually,
easier.
that probably.
Yeah, whatever is easiest.
be easier. Can
And
we
let me
still
know.
see?
Yeah, and you want to put it right up on the surface. Make sure your fingers aren't in the way. Yeah, there we go. Move that hand back.
I'm going to turn your screen off for just a second.
Mine?
Yeah, so they can,
See how it's measuring it? Yeah. So we're just carefully measuring on the side there. All right, can I grab the screen again?
Yep.
All right. Are you ready? All right, starting. Excellent, you're good. So what we have here, it's not going to be too surprising. I've got good news. There's no dramatic, scary elements in this.
Oh, good.
So safe for children. We've got a lot of sulfur, so leather. Anytime you see a big sulfur peak like that, it's leather or an animal product. By the way, if you've got a, so you remember that lithic stone we had earlier? If you were to measure a rock and then you said see a big pocket of sulfur on it, that can sometimes say, hey, there's a residue here. You can test and see what they were using this on. That can be really nice as a screener. A little bit of chlorine, but not a ton. Potassium, calcium, a little bit of titanium, so we've got some dirt mixed in with this once again. And last but not least, some iron. But yeah, nothing toxic, nothing of concern here.
Great.
The beads, however, I guarantee you we're going to see some lead on that. So
Okay, should we do that next?
yeah, let's go ahead and do it. I'm going to add this on, add spectra.
I'm ready when you are.
All right, starting. Yeah, this is just lead.
Oh, just lead.
Yeah. All right. Oh,
Keep it.
yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So, real quick. So, what happened here? If you guys see this,
Uh-huh.
so Celeste moved the XRF object, which meant we were briefly sending some X-rays out, but
Oh, shoot.
it stopped it. It stopped it. It says backscatter count too low. It stopped the measurement on its own.
automatic.
So the safety
Okay.
feature here is once you pulled it away, the XRF. There's probably like half a second when it was sending out X-rays, but then it turned
Okay.
itself off. So you're
Good
okay.
to know.
Don't worry
Okay,
about
sorry,
it.
I
And
thought
no
you
one was
said
in the
okay.
beam. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, we're good. We're good.
We're good. Okay.
So what we have here is lead glass beads. You can see here we've got a very, very busy spectrum. So let's take a look at everything we might have here. So we've got silicon, obviously, because there's some glass. That's not sulfur, actually. That's the M line of lead. We've got potassium and calcium, iron. Nickel is from the instrument again. That's lead. What we have here, though, is a classic example. For those of you who've done XRF a lot in the past, you know that there are two elements that overlap with each other that always cause problems: arsenic and lead. Both. So with lead, we have the L line emissions. With arsenic, we have the K line emissions. And at 10.5. At 10.5 keV, we have the arsenic K line right on top of the lead L alpha line. They share the exact same space. But the beta lines are different. So this right here is the L beta for lead. Then this right here is the arsenic K beta. So here we have arsenic and lead on top of each other. but we can use the beta emissions, both the K and L lines, to identify which is which. So
Are you getting those here?
that's in the glass. It's in the glass, not in the leather. So it's not a treatment. It's in a solidified, vitrified form. It's not going to hurt anyone. But it is part of the coloring. I would guess the arsenic is in the yellow.
Okay, because can we move you back just a little bit?
Yeah.
I'm thinking just for social distancing,
Yeah, absolutely.
unless we need to lean in. 'Cause
No, that is great.
I don't think the table's 6 feet wide.
Yeah. All right, so very good. We've got that mix
And I'm
there.
safe to put this down.
Yes, you're good to go. You are good to go.
Okay.
So yeah, so the moccasins have not been treated with anything. I don't even see evidence of a salt wash on these guys. There's a little bit of salt, but not a lot. And then lead and arsenic, but it's vitrified in the glass.
Now here's a question for the novices at home, which includes me. Something wrapped in plastic.
We don't want to measure it that way
Yeah.
because the plastic's going to block X-rays from getting out. Now, for lead and mercury, we would see that just fine. But for lighter elements like chlorine, we wouldn't necessarily see through the plastic.
Okay, so
And that's
wondering-
assuming the plastic doesn't have anything that's going to activate an XRF either.
This really shouldn't be in plastic, but this came to us this way. It was, we don't know why. Sometimes things are wrapped in plastic in the past when they had mold or something on them. I don't know in this case if that's the situation. So what we have here, let me pop over to this.
Yeah. Let me stop sharing.
Let me,
I got it.
oh, you got it, okay. Sorry.
No, you're good. You guys keep right.
It's so hard to work together but not be together.
Yeah, exactly.
This is a block of wood, and, oh yeah, I see some discoloring there. I don't know. I'm not sure the last time it's even been out of this plastic. It has this interesting note on it that's sort of the period, early 1900s, late 1890s, something like this. And I don't have the full translation here right now. I can't quite read it, but it says, end of beam from main auditorium of the, shoot, I can't
Great
read it now.
Pecos Temple.
Oh, you've got it right there.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got it right here. The Great Pecos Temple, Rio Pecos, New Mexico, identified by Bandelier as ancient, okay, I can't pronounce that, but I had a student do some research on this a couple of years ago. She thinks it might be from the beam of the mission church at Pecos, which was famously in ruins, and then the parts were dismantled and made into all kinds of other things. It shows signs of having some kind of pigment on it. It's been sawed. And so the things of interest here again are, do we have any toxic treatments? But we're probably going to get that pigment. We might also be curious to know about, this tag. I don't know if the tag would show toxins and this would not, but that might be a piece worth checking. We have these pins as well. And this is in some way a complex artifact from the curation standpoint because the tag is now an historic object itself. And
How old is the tag in Spanish?
no, it's in English, but the script, looks like we're looking late 1800s, early 1900s.
Gotcha.
So from a conservation perspective, probably a conservationist would want to try to remove this to get these pins out of here, but to do so would be risky. Anyway, we've got a variety of things. Another thing might be fun to see, if you took this tag off, there might be something on the other side.
So I wouldn't worry too much about moving.
Help us date it.
I wouldn't want to move the tag.
Well, I'm not going to mess with it today, but
Yeah.
eventually there might be something to consider. For example, what are these pins made of? Are they going to degrade into the wood and cause issues? I don't know. So several possibilities for testing there.
All right, let's do it. The first thing I'd like to get is as blank of an area of wood without the pigment as possible, which I assume is going to be the interior right there. So let's go ahead and maneuver in. And then I'm going to hop back over here. And let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, starting.
Are you sharing if you're shared?
Well, we chose wisely. Yeah, we're good. Thank you. Every time you hear that, that's when it's done.
I've never
right.
seen this out of plastic.
I know.
I've always wanted to take it out of the
So
plastic.
we got some dirt, aluminum,
Didn't have to cut.
a lot of silicon actually. Sulfur once again. So interesting. Potassium, calcium, some titanium, and a lot of iron. I'm guessing it's bleed over from a pigment somewhere in this guy. And no evidence for any, I can maybe see a little, like a very trace of lead, but like nothing to write home about. Nothing more than a couple ppms. So, yeah. And then,
We put the skateboard on there.
do we think this was painted on the outside right here?
It looks to me like it's got some reddish
Yeah.
brown paint.
So let's try and, the yellow, it looks really solid.
This may be remnants of mold or something, which might be
Yeah.
why I got wrapped in plastic to begin with.
Let's try the red part, or the reddish part. See how that looks.
Of course, wrapping it in plastic is not gonna, seems like a bad idea, but,
Yeah.
we will,
Seal the moisture in, right?
Yeah, we'll need to rethink the curation of this
Are you ready?
object.
Okay,
It's,
starting.
the way it's wrapped now was probably done in the 80s.
Oh yeah, that's a pigment.
What a setup. It's awesome.
That's 2 pigments. All right, you good?
Takes a village.
Yeah. So first off, a lot of iron, a lot of titanium, which is very surprising.
Every time you say that, I hear that song. I don't know why, but it just runs through my head. That sounds
Yeah, so I've never heard this song. I'll add it to my playlist. So we've got a lot of iron, so that's the hematite. We've got titanium. My guess is that titanium is a trace in whatever deposit the thing came from. I don't think it's indicating that any kind of treatment. I also see, do I see that? No? All right, never mind. It's not 2 pigments. I thought I might be able to see mercury, but no, it's not
I'm
mercury.
glad you ironed that out for us.
Yeah, but I'm bummed. Yeah, so no, hematite pigment. But like wherever it came from, just for those of you who are really into archaeological research, that titanium peak is highly anomalous. It's too much for what you typically see in like a silicate. That titanium peak could be used to maybe identify the source of the hematite, because you want to find hematite with a similarly anomalous titanium source. Cool, excellent. Anything else on this we want to measure? Do we want to measure the dark spots?
I think it might be worth it. I think the dark spots are probably some kind of, I think it's dark. It could be some kind of fungus. I don't know. I think it might be worth looking at these pins.
Oh yeah,
Just to see what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
That's from a future perspective of conservation or whatever.
Yeah, make sure they're not pure iron or something.
Yeah, they don't look tarnished at all, so I'm guessing they are, I don't know. Do they have stainless steel pins in 1902? I'm thinking maybe they don't look like brass, but
Pecos Church, what am I thinking?
something that doesn't tarnish very easily.
Pecos Church. Pigment. All right, are you ready, Celeste?
I'm ready.
All right, starting.
Fire in the hole.
Connection problem. Yep, we're back online.
Interesting question coming in from
Yeah.
Hill.
Okay. Yeah.
Then a question, could the low amount of lead present in so many objects be from the presence of lead in the air derived from lead-based gasoline?
Yeah, it actually could. I think the more likely outcome, though, is just how incredibly lead polluted things were in the 19th century as well. Like, really, when you see the more industrial activity you see with humans, the more lead just goes up. But I agree in principle with the possibility of some lead-based contamination. It'd have to be outside, though, right? By an area people were driving. So I don't think it was on display like that. I would suspect it's with wherever they're getting the materials. Whoever was processing all this hematite might have a trace amount of lead just because of machinery they're using. It's shared equipment with multiple purposes, and lead just spreads everywhere. Yeah. lead is like sand. It's irritating and it gets everywhere.
Yeah, in this case, this was probably sitting in a remote ruin.
Yeah.
And Hewitt or somebody he knew was out there
Well, yeah.
collecting stuff and said, hey, we'll take a piece of
Well,
that.
and you think it's a piece of wood in a wooden building. If they had like, let's say they painted the roof and there was a lead pigment on the roof, and then they had a couple big downpours that caused some water damage, the lead's going to pick up in that water and share around too. So you just add the aggregate of that kind of activity over decades and centuries, and that's where you get this kind of trace of lead with most historical objects.
Well, that's really discouraging for our health as a society. But,
Oh yeah, absolutely. You know, there's a great paper that was published in Science a couple years back where they used a Greenland core, and they could use the lead in the Greenland core to identify industrial activity in Rome. So like the Pax Romana had a giant lead peak in it, and yeah, no, it's a serious problem. In this case though, the metal is iron, so you do have a rust concern.
That's surprising. I'm shocked it's not rusty, but maybe it was put on in an indoor building and kept in the Southwest and it's been
Yeah.
pretty dry since.
No, it is pure iron.
Okay.
So, and it's obviously not going to be, it's not stainless steel because we don't see chromium. They wouldn't have had that available anyway. So,
Now, is there any value to testing this ink? I mean, we're not going to be able to date that ink till like
Well-
a decade by the.
the only thing we could really tell is if it was like iron gall ink. In other words, we'd see, a little bit of iron in addition in the ink, but we need to measure the paper and then the ink. We can do that real quick. That's not a problem.
If it would help us date it, but if it's going to just tell us it's 20th,
It's just going to tell us what ink it is. I don't think the ink's going to help us date too well.
excuse me.
So,
This is the problem with these kind of techniques. Do we want to know what the ink is? Do we need to know?
yeah. I think the way to get a date on this piece of paper is just a quick 14C date on the paper itself, and that will tell you when they added the note.
Okay. Well, I'm very curious about the ink, but if it's
Yeah, let's do it.
need to know
It's a
only,
good thing. Yeah, so
Okay,
let's,
it takes what, 10 seconds?
Yeah.
I know, it's just,
Kind of
it's
stuck
slippery
or
slope of these things. You can-
just a blank area of the paper first, and then we'll get the ink, because we need the background. All right, so I'm going to add spectra. I need to call this Pecos Church Mail. Close that. Are you ready?
Right.
Starting?
Ready.
So we're going to get the paper first, and then I'm going to have you hop right over to the ink, so that way we can analyze the two in tandem.
This is paper shot.
Yep. All right, and then get the biggest piece of ink you can, if you can. If you need it, I can turn a camera on that instrument.
We're okay. We've got a big dark spot here.
Great. All right, starting.
And Andy, I can see the Q&A on my phone. I figured out how to find it on
Okay.
here, so I can also monitor it from here.
Okay,
and see I can do it.
It's a totally organic ink. It could be charcoal or something, but I see no additional elements that are any different. The background spectrum and the spectrum of the ink are carbon copies of each other. So yeah, to the atom, they're pretty similar.
Interesting. Okay.
We're keeping it in the plastic.
Yeah, let's maybe loosely wrap it back up, I guess.
All right, that was a fun object. I've been in that area. I was driving home for Christmas through Pecos, and I got on I-25 just before they shut it down, and so I had to drive uphill on a sheet of ice for 5 hours in that area.
Memorable.
And I had my wife's cat at the time in the back seat with me. She did not like cars.
Especially after that.
All right. Here, let me stop my share.
Back to the main. Okay, so here we have a basket for carrying liquid. It's been treated, we believe, with some resin, something to make it waterproof. It's the tag says Apache, and I believe in our notes it's listed as coming from Pajarito Park in New Mexico. So I'm not quite sure. This could be quite old indeed. We could be looking at, early 1800s on this, although I suspect it's probably mid to late. But yeah, it's got some condition issues, and see here's some damage. Once again, we're interested to know, especially since this is an older object, if it has any of those toxins in it. Otherwise, I don't see any obvious questions, although we might be interested in this rawhide strap, of
All
course, as a possible having something of question that throws the manufacturing. Okay.
Cool, let's do it. You ready? So on this object, do you see any differences in? So I'm looking at this. It looks very similar to me throughout. Like I don't see pigments or anything. I don't know. I guess the hair here is something. But yeah, so let's try the wood in this previous spot of the sign. And then let's switch over to the leather and see what we have. All right, we're going to share screen.
Oh, yeah, perfect weather.
Yes.
All right, are you ready?
Ready?
Starting.
Choose the sun backwards on the bench.
And then the other thing is that, oh, the air quality is pretty bad. So I didn't go.
All right, take a look. So like the previous objects we've seen, we see let's maximize this. Like the previous objects we've seen, we see silicon, a lot of sulfur, little sulfur, potassium and calcium, some titanium, iron, and then out here in the boonies, bromine and strontium. So here, we had an earlier question, if I remember correctly. Let's find it. There was I'm trying to remember. There was a question about methyl bromide. Do you remember that?
But you can tell from whether it's been a pesticide, I think.
Yeah, I think this object answers that question.
It said, well, let's see, where is it?
Yeah, I was trying to find it too. It got buried, I think.
Do the natural, that's cinnabar, methyl bromide pesticides, how can we tell the difference between salt washed leather and whether the chlorine and bromine are residues from pesticides?
So this is the answer because we have a big bromine peak and we don't have any obvious chlorine.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I think, and this bromine peak is bigger than we've seen in the past. And
So you think
bromine is not something that's just hanging around all over the place.
So this is a treatment with the pesticide?
I think so. I think this is methyl bromide. That would be the most parsimonious way for me to explain the presence of bromine in the spectrum, but divorced from chlorine.
Huh.
So yeah.
Now I wonder, here's a question, again, this, I thought, well, let me see if I can, thought we had some waterproofing on this that was flaking.
Oh, we should have brought the UV
You
light.
can see there's some, you see, this could just be dirt or but some kind of crystalline in there. It looks like maybe sap or something. I think it's falling, it's come apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering if any of the waterproofing could have introduced anything.
Possible.
If you take a peek in there, you see the crystals?
Yeah.
It looks like a kind of,
Oh, it's weird. We'd have to take it out to measure it. Yeah, if you have long tweezers, we could pull some.
I think that's part of the waterproofing that's come out.
Yeah.
The hand will go in there. There's my daughter right
Well,
here. She can get her hand in there. She's really good at extracting things from these spots. Yeah, turn it upside down, but it's a little fragile.
yeah, I would not do that.
Yeah,
if you don't have long tweezers,
Yeah.
I would say we're not going to be able to access them. Really long chopsticks could work too, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, let's see. We might be able to invert this.
Well, is there any on the bottom?
Good question.
Here, if you lift it up, I'll look underneath. Do you see anything?
There's something that my eyes are so bad. There's like a smudge of something, like it's leaking out the bottom.
Okay, that's good. We can work with that.
But I'm not sure what it is. It could be just something else.
Here, let's. I
Do
really.
you see what I'm talking about there?
I do see what you're talking
Does
about.
that look like a smudge of similar stuff, maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Hold it like that.
Okay.
All right.
So we do like a kind of a matrix maneuver?
We're going to do social distancing measurement here. All right, hold steady.
That's the picture of the workshop right there.
Got it.
My adductors are about shot.
Yeah.
Oh, that was
So, it's, I don't know, I imagine it looked kind of like, the Sistine Chapel.
not sure it looked worse than it felt.
All right. So the good news is I can see what this stuff is. First off, not as much, no bromine in that. So that's interesting. Man, there's not a lot. There's no obvious peak. Sorry, I just blew myself out of the thing. There's no obvious peak in that new spectrum that's higher. It's organic, whatever it is.
That makes sense.
It's a really organic, honestly. Like it's like tree sap or something, but it doesn't have a clear inorganic elemental signature.
Okay. Well, that's as we would expect, so.
Yeah, and the bromine's gone. So
Okay.
it's not, whatever that is, does not have the bromine.
And I don't think we hit the strap yet, did we?
We have not.
No, we have
We
not.
hit the strap, maybe.
Yeah, my money's on tree sap for what it's worth, but I don't know for sure.
Strap.
Yep, whatever's most comfortable.
Well,
Make sure that, so if you look, take a minute to look where the measurement's going to take the little oval, you want to make sure that's on the leather. A little harder now that we're, yeah.
Make a smaller
this
object.
testing really saps your energy.
All right, ready?
Ready?
I'm really aware of how, I used to do these workshops all over the world. I'm just thinking about like how much of my mouth moisture was just in the air in all these workshops. Because wearing a mask, you're really aware of how much you exhale. All right, got it. This has, once again, bromine, once again, little chlorine, iron, calcium, sulfur, all the usual suspects for leather. So I think a methyl bromide treated object is my best guess. I can't explain, the bromine would not be in the wood. So.
Right.
At least not, it would be, but not in the high ppms here, certainly not in natural state. So yeah, methyl bromide.
All
Safe for
right.
you guys. Safe-ish. I don't think I'd drink
Do
the
we
stuff,
want
but
to test any of this?
You can, if you want to. I don't know how to, my worry with this
Right.
is, and we could set up a way to do it. Do you see how it's poking
Yeah,
up?
you can.
The chance that this ruptures our 4 micron polypropylene window is extremely high.
Okay.
We'd have to really find a nice
Okay.
angle to do it, but it's too spiky, I think.
Okay.
So,
So we'll do that last. We'll break your instrument.
oh yeah, there we go. I do have extra windows. I just,
Yeah, we've got a comment that's probably pine pitch.
pine pitch. Yeah,
And
that
that's
sounds
frankly what
right.
it looks like, a kind of reddish brown, kind of amber colored granules on the inside where it's been kind of shedding.
I don't drink alcohol, but one of the things I've always wanted to try is in ancient Greece, they used pine pitch to seal wine casks, and so the pine resin really infused with the wine class in ancient Greece. And I've always wondered what that tasted like. So,
Maybe someday.
yeah.
For the rest of us, it tastes like Rexina.
All right. Is this
Parfleche.
the last thing?
The last thing?
We have a.
Oh, there's some. Oh, I see. There's some stuff in there. Never mind. Not the last thing.
Well, no, we got lots of them.
All right.
But we can wrap up the live part of this in a bit if we need to move more rapidly.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it depends on how helpful this has been for everyone watching. I don't, have a sense for that. But
Still got a good number of people tuned
Object
in.
number 75.8.6.
We've got a number of things we've tested in the past that we want to retest. We
And
still
it's a
got some
hard
things we've never tested that we need to look at.
pine pitch. It's Gina. Good call, Gina. All right.
Andy, how do you spell Parfleche?
Parflesh, right?
No, I thought it was S.
E
Or is
C
it
H.
C?
E-C-H, yeah. Spelling class too.
Well, this one, obviously looking for that treatment, we've got some colors on this one too. And, for time, we might not want to worry too much about all those colors. You might want to focus on just, whether it's got, the name.
Yeah.
It's got a wooden dowel in here.
Oh, yeah? All right.
So for what it's worth.
Well, let's measure, is this the exposed wooden dowel or is it wrapped under this leather? It looks like it's wrapped under the leather, right?
It's inside
Okay.
and you can see it through the holes, but you can't really.
Yeah, no worries.
You can't really, this is too stiff to really open.
Yep, let's get the leather if we can, and then we'll do a couple of the pigments that are evident. But the one thing to know about this is we're measuring through it, right? So we're going to see multiple layers. So if it gets really complicated, or there's anything that seems really anomalous, it might be because there's a pigment underneath the leather. that we're
Probably.
measuring.
For those of you, are we still screen share on you? Let me head off.
Oh yeah, here let me turn this off. Sorry.
Okay, so here we have a parfleche, date unknown, probably late 1800s, early 1900s potentially, and it has, I think I'll use the camera for the object. It's kind of rough, it's been used. It's got remnants of some blue coloring here, remnants of the design. You see this diamond pattern here, the zigzag, and with blue and then some green long stripes. So remnants of blue and green, and this pattern here. So we're looking for whether we've got arsenic in this or not, or lead or something. But we might pick up, as he just mentioned, some ingredients of a blue or yellow or whatever.
All right. So let's get the blankest part of the leather we can to start. I'm open to suggestion on that. Is anyone else? Maybe right here. That looks pretty good. All right. Let's share. Let's hop back in here. All right. Ready?
Ready?
Well, we chose wisely because no lead, no mercury, no pigments. I mean, I guess there's maybe a trace of lead, but again, the same kind of just background noise that we've seen. Potassium, calcium, sulfur. No, there is chlorine. There is chlorine, it looks like to me. So I think you can see the peak right here. It overlaps with the rhodium outline, but whenever you see it spike up here on the left side, that's always chlorine. So yeah, salt washed. All right, let's try the blue pigment. That's the one that really jumps out at me. And let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, starting. All right, so for the blue pigment, I see a little more lead, but what I see, I don't really have a clear read on magnesium, but I do see a lot of aluminum and silicon. My guess would be ultramarine again. All right, let's add those two over here. And then this is blue pigment. Excellent. All right, and then I think I see a green pigment right here. Do you see that too? Try that real quick. All right, let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
All right, I'm going to add parfleche back in. Now we're looking at the green pigment. So in red is the parfleche background, and green is the green pigment. Helpful, really, when we talk about discussing it. All right, we got it. And so in the green pigment, we have two new elements. The first element is lead, and the second element is chromium. So we've got a I'm trying to remember. I need to Google it. The first thing that comes to mind is viridian green, but I don't know if that's accurate. Just a moment.
Google to the rescue.
Yeah. When I was still in practice traveling around the world, I had all these pigments just indexed. Yeah, hydrated chromium oxide. Yeah. So yeah, my guess would be viridian green mixed in with like a lead prime, or even lead white, which would be lead carbonate. and then you just kind of add the other thing and, you know, mix the two. But either way, both lead and chromium are present. So, cool.
All right. Good.
And if anyone watching has a correction on my pigment identification or any other possibilities, let me know. I feel very, very, very out of practice on pigment identification.
Okay, let me see if we got any questions coming in.
Was the fine fish on it.
Oh, here we go. Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right. We're sharing the spectrum here. Merrick asked if we can see the spectrum. I think we're showing it right now.
I think that was old.
Okay. Yeah, there was one I had forgotten to do that. Sorry about that, Merrick. Also hope you're doing very well these days.
The feathers had leather on the inside, I guess not.
Yeah, the feathers didn't. The felt did though. All right.
Should we do some?
Yes, let's do it.
Well, actually, we might not need to do that one. Let me double check. Okay, yeah, let's do that one.
All right.
Okay.
Here. What, Andy, can you tell us what this is? Let me. I'm gonna stop the share here so people can see.
This is we have a dew claw bandolier, or something you might wear while you're performing dancing. It will make sound, of course. And these are dew claws here on the leather strap. Provenance unknown, but really the plains, Native American plains item. This could easily be late 19th century, could be early 20th. I don't recall seeing any pigments here, but that doesn't mean there aren't any.
All right. So I'm gonna take over and share the screen again. All right, we're back on here. Let's do the leather first. Maybe around here. Does that seem doable? Let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
All right, starting. All right, got it. So, no big surprises here. A lot of iron. Salt again, so salt wash. A little bit of lead, but again, background noise. Ton of sulfur, ton of iron. So, yeah. And then, what are these things? I don't understand. Are they rocks? Are they glass?
Andy.
Andy.
They're Andy.
Sorry.
Amber?
Amber?
Yeah, what are those?
These should be dew claws, like
Dew claws. What's a dew
like
claw?
a deer.
It's like the back claw and
Oh, okay.
Sorry,
So
Toby.
animal sort of.
Yeah.
It's the claw for dewing.
So
They've been
just.
sliced up and perforated.
All right. You want it? Let's better. All right, got one?
Yeah, I can.
All right, starting.
Sorry, the liver might be.
Yeah, I've not measured these before, so I don't know what to expect, other than sulfur. Huh? Yeah. So, I guessed right. Lots of sulfur. Again, sulfur is the calling card of animals. So a lot of sulfur, a little bit of chlorine, but yeah, no lead or mercury.
I think we're not going to do that. Some of what we've done before, we're not going to do again.
Yeah.
I thought we did that. Let me just check. I thought we did the fight back. Yeah, we did. We said the porcupine quills were clean and leather background and lead. That's what you could do.
that's what we saw.
Anything else you think we should? Last time we just did the background and the porcupine.
Oh,
quill.
right.
I remember that, yeah.
Was there anything else on there that you think would be of interest?
The bells might be interesting, but I'm sure they're just little
Yeah.
the bells.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Oops.
All right.
Okay, so what we have now is quite a lot of baskets that we didn't touch previously.
Okay. Are these the ones on the roller back here?
Bring a couple of these in.
Yep, let's do it.
Also got a piece of clothing.
Okay.
Actually, if you might run those down, and I'll run the baskets out and you go down.
Cool. While we're waiting for new artifacts, does anyone have any questions? We open up QAQC or Q, yeah.
Okay, I have it open here.
Oh, yeah. Okay, cool. We'll hang tight for the new objects.
Let's see if this should update with roll numbers.
Yeah. Good. All right. No, so I think the only thing we saw with anything that concerned me was the headdress, the belt. Everything else, I mean, obviously, the Cinnabar and Vermilion, but like, it's a, you know,
With the sort of wandering.
Yeah.
mercury.
the headdress is particularly. Yeah.
So we have a couple of items here. This is a Muscaro Apache basket. Here we have, this recently came to light in our archives. They thought it was a piece of cloth. They were going to throw it out, and I said, wait a minute, let's look more closely. These are breeches.
Oh,
And they're felt, and I'm guessing they're fine. They
okay.
might even be from the 1970s.
Yeah, all right.
But we might as well check them because they're felt. And felt seems to be one of those materials that were treated,
Your name, all right. There
that
you
were
go.
treated in the past with all kinds
You
of.
want, are you gonna do dual time, write the object? And
Okay, you got it.
Okay.
I got it. Take this.
So why don't we do this first just to get it out of the way? Because I think it'll go quickly. Yeah, I think it's just a one-shot, one-stop shopping. This is 7814, and these are felt breeches. And I think they'd be sufficient probably to test one, because I'm guessing that they.
Yeah, we can test the main fabric and then the lining to see what it looks like.
Yeah.
All right.
So do I have to squeeze this trigger or is it?
Nope, you just need to hold it in place.
Okay.
This is the blue area.
Yeah, the blue area, the main body of it. All right, are you ready? All right, so I'm going to start, and it's going to measure for 10 seconds.
A lot of seconds.
Yeah, well, helps the little peaks if they're there. All right, got it. So complicated spectrum. So first off, an animal product, lots of sulfur. Not a lot of chlorine. Not a lot of potassium. Coffee had more. Not a lot of calcium. A lot of titanium. So this is absolutely after the 1920s. This is modern material. A lot of chromium, which is probably treating the product as a preservative, and then iron. So yeah, I don't know that we need to measure the red. This is modern.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did not put anything dangerous on this at all.
Okay, yeah, I think it could be from the 1970s.
Yeah.
Okay, but that gives us peace of mind.
All right, so we're going to call it modern. Oh, and once again, the reason we can tell it's modern is the high quantities of titanium. Just because titanium wasn't synthesized until the early 1920s. So, all right, and now we've got the basket. And then, what area do you want to measure first?
What's the number?
Oh,
No, 67.9.2.
So they popped out. Can you drop your screen share for just a moment?
yeah. Here, let me stop it.
So we have a Muscaro Apache basket. Again, not exactly sure the age of this. Probably, I'm guessing, first half of the 20th century.
So it's relatively modern then.
Probably, although, I've been surprised. I'm frankly not an expert on all the Southwestern materials, especially baskets. This could be a survivor. This could be an older basket that's just in remarkable condition,
Okay.
But the pattern, too, kind of lends you to that feel that perhaps some of this is for public consumption,
Yeah.
as opposed to personal use. But as we saw before with the burden basket, that was very much a personal object in its
Let's do the center right there. I think that's the flattest area.
It's a symbol. It's oversimplifying on my part to make that sound.
Yeah, we'll see. All right, are you ready?
Yep.
All right, starting. Yeah, so, all right, done. It's very basic, wood, calcium, potassium. No evidence of a salt wash, no chlorine, no bromine peak. Only thing we see out there is strontium. No lead, no mercury. So yeah, not treated as far as I can tell. Or if it is, it's something organic that wouldn't leave an inorganic residue.
Okay. Let me grab another basket.
Yeah, and we're gonna screen through these baskets because they're pretty cut and dry.
Is it okay if I tilt it up just to see what?
Yeah, absolutely. Please take a look. Yeah, so we're measuring right there. So that little circle right there, that's the eye. That's the detector. They cost $9,000 to make, and when they break, they make a loud popping sound. Yeah.
Well, I'll keep an ear out for that.
In that moment, you sort of slip out the back and then
Yeah.
come in and go, hey, who's been messing with my thing here? Yeah, my guess is these were, maybe first half of the 20th century, possibly mid-century,
Yeah.
sort of baskets for tourists purchase on the roadside, something like this, potentially.
Yeah.
Because they're in pristine condition and they have these nice patterns.
Do you know?
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, and I'm screen sharing right now. So
67.9.3.
here's the next
So
object.
another Apache basket here.
All right, ready? Sharing screen. Jumping over.
Ready.
All right, starting. This is almost identical to the last one. Yeah, stay in position for a second more.
Makes
Yeah,
sense.
got
I
it.
think they came from probably the same.
Yep,
exact
they,
makeup,
they look
same size.
identical. So yeah, nothing of concern here.
All right. Keep that right being the lady.
This one looks much older.
Yes, this one is probably,
Here, let me stop share here so folks can see.
Tilt the camera a little bit.
definitely.
Oh. Anyone else kind of feel like this is a mix of Star Trek and Antiques Roadshow? All right.
Merrick says, thank you very much. Yes, so leave apologies.
Yeah. Nope. Good. It was good. It was good to have you here, Merrick.
Okay, I have an object.
Gesticular. All right. How's the best way to measure this?
We don't want the whole. doesn't
No, we
matter.
don't. We don't. It might be you can tilt this guy up like this maybe, and then get the side.
Okay.
That would be that'd be fine. I don't expect any.
Okay. I have an object number when you're ready.
Whenever you're ready.
67.9.18.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. Yeah, I mean, we have the object number, so it's, don't need to be too detailed, I don't think.
All right.
All right, I'm
I'm gonna
ready.
share screen. Come back over. Ready?
Yes.
I know. Stay safe.
This one's a little different. Not a ton different, but a little
Trying
different.
so hard.
Got it. So I see some sulfur on this one. So there's definitely some kind of residue in there. A lot of silicon and aluminum. It's definitely a different manufacturer basket and a ton of iron, but nothing toxic or of concern.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this one looks like something that was. I mean, you can guess just by looking at it, but it was definitely something that was used.
It does have that dark color. That's, it's unclear sometimes if that is, if it's darker because of age, or sometimes, they would put like shellac on things,
Yeah.
kind of a coating.
Yeah, but yeah, I think nothing of concern. Then we got these two. Here, let me cancel the screen share so folks can see. So, what would what would the function of these be?
Okay, so these are Ladam from southern Arizona, and these with these hanging straps here. I feel like these are made for sale as like wall plaques or something. I guess you could put a pot on them, this kind of thing,
Okay.
but I think more than likely they're probably kind of wall decorations.
Yeah. Tourist consumption again?
Yeah, the kind of thing where you could use it for a purpose, but it's got that hanging portion that indicates it's probably more decorative than.
Yeah.
These are all enormously similar in like form to the things that they sell to tourists on the roadside in Uganda, where they sell these flat
Yeah.
things in these very low wide baskets.
What are the flat ones are kind of easy to make?
So easier. Yeah, sure, yes, direction sounds, that means it's done.
Yes. You got it. You got it.
Something for everybody.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Are you ready?
All right, so this one's 69.3.10. Ready?
All right. Starting. All right. Calcium, potassium, a little bit of sulfur, but no toxins to be concerned about, no salt wash. Spectra. All right.
And then this one has the same first two numbers, but the last number is 9 instead of 10.
The last one is 0.10.
This one's 0.9, sorry. So it's 69.9.9.
Ooh, hold on. Someone had a comment, it looks like. So this comes from Casey Malikrut. Phenylmercuric acetate is routinely added by some paint manufacturers to interior latex water-based paint as a fungicide and a bactericide to prolong the paint's shelf life. EPA permits interior latex paint to contain less than or equal to 300 ppm elemental mercury and exterior latex paint to contain less than or equal to 2000 ppm. However, neither the presence nor the concentration of mercury in the paint is required to be labeled in the paint plan. Mercury may not be lawfully used in the oil-based paint.
That's super interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, interesting. I wonder if all right, that's helpful. All right. So then this guy, hop on the center there. Oh, sorry. I hit the mouse button too soon. Are you in position?
Yes.
All right. Yeah, you just heard the filter wheel go, and then I quickly realized there's nothing underneath it. All right. Connection issue, just a moment. Reconnecting. All right, starting. You all right? All right, starting. Yep, and like the last one, no evidence of anything amiss here. So calcium, potassium, no lead, no mercury. So.
What was the sample ID number, not on this one, but on the one before that? I feel like I wrote it down wrong.
Okay, 69.3.10.
0.3.5.
3.10.
Yeah. And sorry, that was my bad giving you the second number. I thought it was the same, but
Oh, that's
that's on
okay.
me.
No, I had written down the wrong third number. So
Okay.
The whole thing's a disaster. All done.
And is Andy getting more objects or?
Yes, I think
Okay.
so.
All right.
At the very least, Celeste is. I don't know where he went.
I assume you guys helped us. Yeah.
All right. We're waiting for a couple more objects. If there's any questions, feel free to let us know. I'm looking on here. I don't see any. Can you please tell us the settings at which the tests are being done? Yes. We're right now doing lab rat mode. So we're doing 40 keV, a current of 30 microamps, and no filter. So the reason for that is we want to be able to see both chlorine and mercury in the event that it's present. So yeah, so just to show you here, measurement method. Sorry, 32 microamps, not 30. It's arbitrary though. The difference between the two doesn't substantially change the measurement. But 40 keV, 32 microamps, and then no filter. Now, if we were relentless in our pursuit of finding lead and mercury at single-digit ppms, we would use a filter. But that's not the case today. So, you know, we're keeping it no filter because we want to be able to see the chlorine very quickly, given the number of objects we have to look at. So I'm going to help her with the door real quick.
Yeah.
Get a little bit knocked with the interest here. Yeah, so most of the rest of these, it's really about presence, absence. Occasionally, there's a couple of variable parts.
Yeah. All right. So let me cancel the screen share here. All right. Do we lose Andy?
Yeah, if you went back inside.
Okay.
I think we can just roll with some of these.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So let's measure. What is that?
It says plain hide scraper on the label.
All right.
Thank you. What's my favorite?
Plain tide scraper. Yeah. Here, can you show the camera that? So this is what they would use. So let's say you have a bison or another recently killed item. You'd use this to scrape the hide flat as part of the preparation technique for using it. So that's wild, but this must be bone. So we should use calcium and phosphate.
And there's
All right.
some nails in the bottom as well.
Oh yeah?
Like,
We can take a quick look at those too, make sure, yeah. But yeah, I think just measure this area right here.
okay.
We'll be good.
And object number is,
I got it.
oh, you did,
Yep.
okay.
Ready?
Yes.
Yep. Calcium phosphate. Okay, hold on. Yep, so this is bone, calcium. You can always tell bone because, obviously the calcium's a giveaway, but the phosphorus is always going to be sky high. You'll also see, especially with older bones, there'll be some silicates mixed in the cracks, and a high amount of strontium. There is some discussion in the literature that you can use the strontium in bones as a rough estimate of how a plant versus meat portion of the diet. Just because you're eating plants, you're getting a lot more nutrients and there's a lot more strontium in it. The data is not super great on it, but it's
It's
not.
relative to, if you're working within like a single food chain system, it's
Yeah.
really good to discriminate, but if you're comparing across different ecosystems, it's like there's no actual hard number to use, so
Yeah.
it loses its utility.
All right. Cool. Excellent.
All right, do you want to check out?
Yeah, let's do the nail working. I'm guessing the nail is modern, but let me add this.
So if I point it this way, it's be all right.
All right. Are you ready? We're not on the nail.
Okay,
Yeah, here, let me.
here, let me, you can double check.
Yeah. I was just getting the bone there. So yeah, you want to, no, so we're measuring in the oval right here, right there.
Got it?
Yep. All right, starting. There we are. So this is not a modern nail. This is just a piece of iron. Yeah, so this has rust potential. We do not want this near moisture. It's just iron. It's not stainless steel. No, I'm saying iron. It could be if it's steel, you would have you would obviously have some carbon mixed in, but that would be invisible to us. So just a second, put a mask. There. All right. Next up.
Scary.
Here, let me cancel this.
Fragile, so I'm not gonna lift it up too high.
All right, add spectra. Hide scraper nail. All right.
This
So-
is number 75.8.
I wish Andy was here to tell me what this was. I have no idea.
Tag says it's an all.
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
It's decorated all over the
Yeah, no kidding. I would have never guessed a functional tool. So for this, why don't we measure where the beads are missing so we get sense of the interior, and then we can just measure one color of the beads. The beads are going to be all lead though. It's just going to be color pigment information, but that will be our best shot for what's on the inside. How are we doing on questions?
Nothing on that.
Cool, thank you. All right, starting share. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
All right, starting. Good, got it. This is definitely an animal product, a lot of sulfur. But other than that, no evidence of any kind of toxins. I'm going to call this all leather. So I'm saving this data very haphazardly, separate from the numbers. If you guys ever need to go back to it. Yeah. And then we want to do some beads, right? Let's do some of the blue beads. That would be good to see.
We're going to put this together into some kind of a report to deliver, so
Okay.
I'll organize things before it ends up.
Gotcha. All right. Ready? Starting. Yep. Lead.
Inherent in the beads.
Oh yeah. The beads are almost all lead glass, without any exceptions. What they will change is what other elements are present. That's all that. What other elements are present? So here are the big lead lines here. There's also arsenic in them too. So they've got that going for them. That's that copper color you see. Okay, so they added copper in, like a Prussian blue or something. That's not right. My brain is. I'm so bad at pigments these days. I am so out of practice on my pigments.
Is the arsenic also just, it's
Part of the glass, yeah. And is this a spoon or something? A ladle?
It looks like horn.
I agree. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, I guess. Yeah, it's horn. I don't know the function of it.
And there are a couple, okay. I'll go with the trinomial as my best guess. There are a couple numbers on here. 73.1.5.
okay. It's just like with bone.
Yeah, I
Looks
just say it's like
keratin.
a ladle or a spoon.
Okay.
All right.
Flip it over to get a flatter surface.
All right. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
Okay. Starting. Got it. This one has been salt washed. And we see a little bromine coming along for the ride too. Yep. That would be my interpretation. It's awesome. They're not mutually exclusive though, I don't think.
Yeah.
But highlighting the bromine, especially since they can have a potentially alternate conclusion. But my guess would be salt washed with bromine coming along for the ride. And then lots of sulfur. So yeah, animal product, not bone. So it's like keratin. I guess keratin is what it is. And what is this?
This one does not have.
Here, I'm going to stop my share so people can see this because it looks bizarre.
This one unfortunately doesn't have any note on the tag as to what it might be.
Yeah. We really need this one because I don't know where to start. But here, I really want to measure this yellow pigment. So what we're going to want to do is we'll measure here, then here, there, and then we'll get a couple of the elements down here. This one we'll need to do quite a few shots of, I think.
What's the number for this one?
74.8.15.
74.8. All right, right, so let's get the dark area here if we can first, as best you can. And we're all clear on questions? Okay. Great, ready?
Yeah.
Starting. Okay, got it. So this is introducing a few elements we have not seen yet today. All right,
Do you know what
so,
this is?
It's a rattle.
okay, it's a rattle, all right.
Yeah, rattle probably like, post 1950s, I'm guessing. Oh, it could be earlier.
So we have a ton of barium in this. So they're using barium sulfate as a ground, as the background on this guy. Iron, which is normal. And then that is just wild. All right, so we've got,
Painted. I don't know what's inside of it, but probably something like pebbles or beads or something.
we've got zinc, we've got copper, we've got gallium.
Well, there is blue on the other side. Would that?
What in the world is this thing?
I don't think it would get all the way through.
Okay.
Did you guys see this
Talking about
comment from a
layers
few minutes
earlier.
ago?
Yeah.
What is
It's
it?
probably too deep.
Yeah.
There was a comment from 15 minutes ago said, can't read it, my glasses. Phenyl mercuric acetate is.
Yeah, we read that.
Okay.
Yeah, we went through that one.
Oh, darn it, I missed it.
Oh, this is just.
Perils of going downstairs.
Can we measure that thing? Or let's do the yellow, but this is just bizarre
What else?
pattern I have. Everything.
Okay.
No, the X-ray pattern doesn't make any sense to me at all.
When did that question come up? What project were you working on that came up? The
I can't remember.
phenyl
I'm
mercuric
sorry.
acetate.
I can't remember. I'm
You're
sorry.
talking about just like trace amounts
No.
of mercury and things like
Yeah.
that.
I see.
Yeah, so for those of you who see my screen, this pattern is extremely anomalous. It looks to me like coherent scattering, like it's a crystal, but that's obviously not the case with this object. But
Maybe
it's like
got
there's,
quartz crystals in it. It's like quartz rocks. Is it inside?
well, it would have to be the surface would
I
have to
see.
be crystalline, and that's not, obviously not the case, but it's just weird. Because I can't have all these elements. It's just a really weird pattern. We need a filter, I think, to really reconcile a lot of what's in this. But let me add this spectrum. Rattle, dark color. All right, so I'm going to close this, and we'll start with the next one. What color are we looking at?
Yellow.
Yellow? All right. Let me know when you're ready.
I'm trying to hold it on there a little better. Ready.
All right, starting. Got it. So we're going to add this. Rattle, yellow.
Rattle. Rattle.
So I'm bringing the original rattle color in. So the dark color is in red and the yellow color is in green. And the number one difference we see, there's more calcium in the yellow, there's less barium, there's less of almost everything. More nickel reflectance, so the yellow is much more organic, much more organic, because we're getting a ton of feedback from the X-rays that we weren't before. We're also seeing a lot of phosphorus that we weren't seeing before. So yeah, whatever it is, it's organic and has a lot of phosphorus for the yellow. All right, what other parts of this do you want to measure?
There's blue on the and black on the flip side.
Let's do the blue and black real quick. Let's. Okay, let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
All right, so add spectra. All right, so then let's close that. So the blue is in pink. Sorry if that's confusing. You know what it is? You know what's going on here? First measurement we took, whatever is inside the rattle was right underneath the X-ray beam, and so we're getting whatever it is. And that's why I'm getting all this weird feedback and all that, because we're measuring what's underneath. Yeah, and I think that if there's quartz rocks inside, then that's where the coherent scattering is coming from. That's the only thing that makes sense.
Yeah.
Or there's gold inside of it. I'm going to go with coherent scattering.
Gold.
All right, so there's quartz inside. Cool. All right, that makes sense.
Anything inside, you know? Then have the quartz.
Yeah, the blue is ultramarine, by the way, because of the aluminum and silicon, and then black. I'm going to guess bone black. So if we see a lot of phosphorus in this and calcium, but let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
Starting. Yeah, there's the calcium. And there's the phosphorus. So this is bone black. So bone black is where you basically just burn a bone, grind it up, mix it in some base like linseed oil, and then you've got bone black. And you can tell that just like we could tell the bones earlier by all of the phosphorus that's present. So yeah, bone black. Which means this is older, on the older side, I'd guess, because, you know, bone black is not really something you'd make in the 1950s, I think. You'd have other alternatives available to you. Cool.
Yes. So it's 74.8.15.
All right, let's get the,
Sort of first.
yeah.
Portion.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
So that is like all salt. That is the most chlorine we've seen all day. That is off the charts. We even see some of the sodium. So that thing is just packed with salt. Absolutely incredible amount of salt. Yeah. We have, and the rest of the spectrum has some chlorine sun peaks, which is very unusual. I've never gotten a chlorine sun peak before. I don't think. I guess I measured some pure salt crystals once before, but that is funky. Yeah. So salt wash, but like there's more salt than whatever was there before. All right, let's get this handle there. The brown or the white is fine. I don't want to. It's too small for us to reconcile anyway.
Okay.
Head spectra. I'm going to call this Salty Fur.
Salty fur.
Great band name. All right, and starting. So no salt on this guy, on this portion of it anyway.
That's incredible that
It's so localized. Yeah. No, a lot of care went into making this thing. A lot of care. Yeah, no chlorine on this guy. Iron, potassium, calcium. Yeah, perfectly normal material. So yeah, that is a lot of care went into making this. Because they have
Just a question, since that section has so much salt, how come there's no transfer to other areas of the object? Wouldn't that just naturally occur?
So, the mercury is moving in a very small quantity. The salt is just going to be salt crystals coming off of it. They're physical, right? They're not going to stick to the object. So, yeah, that's what makes the mercury so pernicious, is because it goes everywhere. It isn't just that they're dangerous; it's that you cannot control them. Once they're there, You could say a horse is loose in the hospital, right? Like they're everywhere. All right, so we've got this object here. Let me hit, I need to add this, let me stop share so folks can see the next object. Add a spectra. All right, and we're going to call that Corrado. All right, so what we have here looks like a dream catcher to me, kind of, but I don't, I'm familiar. It looks like a dream catcher. I don't know if it is for effect or not, but I think here, if we can, so we've got a lot of glass beads. So the glass beads are obviously not going to have any preservative, and like we've seen before, it's going to be lead and arsenic with a coloring agent. So what we want to measure is the outer ring, if we can. I don't know the easiest way to do that, because the problem is if we get any of these beads in this measurement, we're just going to be measuring the beads.
Let me see if it's also beaded on the back.
We'll measure the beads through the back.
Okay.
Like that's the problem.
Gotcha.
It might be that we can't do much with this, but so let's, I don't think we can measure the outside without getting the beads. We can measure this though, the tassels.
Okay.
So let's do that.
I want to keep it in the box. 'cause
Yes,
the
yes,
tassels
yes.
seem
yes.
really
I
fragile.
think it's possible. Let me know when you're ready.
And let me see if
I can hold this one too if you prefer.
Yeah, probably. So
Yeah.
you get a good reading. But the object number is 74.5.1.
All right, this won't be as good as the other measurements because I'm doing it by hand, but we can still see what's in this thing, which is a lot. So, yeah, this one's been treated with mercury.
Okay.
Yeah, those tassels are have been treated with mercury. I also see lead and iron, but yeah, the tassels have been treated with mercury. So that's when you're gonna wanna make sure none of that's aerosolized. Andy, can you tell us what the subject is over here?
Okay, that's I think you just put that.
No, the one right behind me in the box here, the green one.
Oh, that's probably a TP medallion,
Okay.
or sewing onto a TP. The long one was an all case, AWL.
Okay. So the TP medallion was treated with mercury.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Oops.
Yeah, we can only measure the tassels because there's beads everywhere, and so the outer edge of it we can't get. But the tassels of it absolutely have been treated with mercury. Or they've got some, I saw a red color there. There might be it might be vermilion, but either way.
How did the, well, I guess I can look at Dave later. Could put the all case. It's potentially.
We did the all, I think, and this is a different all.
Yeah, that's an all case then. The tag just said all on it.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense.
It's an
Yeah.
all case.
Makes a lot
Yeah.
more sense.
All right.
That was an animal product, there was something.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting.
All right. What's next?
There any particular
No,
priority?
as you saw the rest, we got a few things to have to do in the lab.
Okay.
But I think this is almost the end of the line. We've got these moccasins, these baskets, and then there's a moldy leather bag in here. So
Okay.
I want to test it for arsenic. I've got to check. We had a couple of pots prepared with wires.
Uh-huh.
I want to see if they were bad. I think they might be on the exhibit.
Oh.
So I'm going to go look and see because they're there. But there's, I think, 3 things we can only do in the lab because they're either fragile or faulty.
Okay. Well, what we can do then is I could go down there individually and just do them.
Yeah.
And that way we've got a reconciliation between coronavirus safety and being done. So,
Yeah. Okay,
We need
I'm
to
gonna
do
check.
baskets instead.
Yes. Yeah, let's do the baskets.
That's this guy.
Oh, yeah, there's 2.
This is a this is a,
Okay.
for those still watching at home, this is a picture. This is the oddball in our collection. Well, I shouldn't say an oddball. It's from Mexico, we believe. Most of what we have is Southwest, but we occasionally have some things from Mexico. Okay.
So the object number is 67.3.10.
All right, ready? Share screen.
Ready?
All right, starting. So, a lot of calcium, just a ton of calcium. It's a ceramic, so I don't expect it to be treated with anything unusual. Some sulfur too, so maybe a gypsum, a little bit of gypsum on the outside mixed in. Yeah, nothing a lot more calcium than I would have guessed, but other than that, nothing of concern.
All right.
You think the calcium is probably just from?
Just the sulfur makes me think at least some of it is calcium, is gypsum. But there's too much calcium for the sulfur. It can't all be. So. It's a very calcareous mudstone that this is made of. Yeah.
Celeste, do you want to switch?
Sure. Would anyone like to take over? I'm happy to keep taking notes. I'm also more than happy to take notes.
No, I'm just.
Yeah. Oh, yes. Oh, my gosh. That's nice.
Okay, should we move on to baskets here?
Yes.
This one's got a logo on the bottom with a tag.
Yeah.
We've got 67.9.1. You got it.
All right. So closing this.
And this looks pretty universal to me as far as where we should
I
test.
think most of these baskets, we just do a point on them and then we call it good. So
Okay,
yeah, so wherever you feel comfortable.
great, and I'm ready.
All right, starting. All right, got it. Yeah, definitely nothing toxic. Standard wood calcium material, a little more silicon than I would have guessed, but. All right.
That should go pretty quick. Now this one has some dye on it, so I don't know if we want to.
Yeah, let's try and skip the dye. If you're worried about mercury, we can measure the dye separately, I think. But yeah, let's try and get a neutral area. So right there. All right, ready?
Ready.
Starting. Yep, this one's non-toxic. And then let's get the red down here too. Actually, darker red would be better.
Yeah, okay.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
I think I'm ready. Right over that dye.
Hematite,
Great.
which is more iron, but that's about it. Okay, got it.
Sorry, 67.9.29. It does. I'm not really sure. This one is 75.3.207.
All right, let's get the wood back here if you can.
Yep.
All right, ready?
Ready.
Starting. All right. What?
Sure.
Yeah, nothing to be worried about. Let's
right.
get that twine blue, because the last time we saw blue twine, it was trouble. So let's see. All
Yeah. Okay, I'm ready.
right, starting. Got it? A lot of sulfur, but nothing toxic.
Great.
So, if it's leather, that would make sense.
Okay.
Because it doesn't look like it's the color. It isn't the color. Because I don't see any correlates with other elements. So yeah, it's compositional.
And do we want to test any of the fabric edges?
We can.
Or would that do any good?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it.
Okay.
All right. Wooden ship. Wood.
I'm ready when you are.
Okay. Okay, starting it now. So the fabric tells me this is a modern object. It's got titanium. So this is after the year 1920.
Okay. I'm going to go with item number 67.9.20. And how do you recommend we do this?
I would measure here, up here, actually.
Okay,
And I don't think we need to measure that. So yeah, just,
lighter.
yeah, let's do the lighter. And let me know when you're ready.
Just trying to get
Can you hold
a
it steady?
You know what? I'm gonna
Yeah,
put it
yeah,
down.
that's fine, that's fine.
Okay, I think I'm good.
All right, starting.
And what is this, just on the side?
Yeah, just the side. All right, nothing toxic.
Great.
Maybe a little bit of chlorine, but other than that, nothing unusual for wood. A lot of manganese. But to be honest, I don't think that'd be introduced by humans. Just different species of plant have different. We really should have measured some tea with the coffee because tea, tons of manganese because just the plant needs that as an essential nutrient. So
Right.
yeah, so whatever species was used in this needed manganese.
Cool. Do you recommend we do any other spots, or you think that
I think we got it. I think we got it.
I have no object description. Without side.
Yeah.
Shaped basket. You got the number. It's
Here's
called a
a
basket.
much more traditionally shaped basket.
Yes, it is. And we've got object number 67925. Sorry, there's points in between those.
All right.
And kind of same thing.
Yep. Good blank spot. Let me know when you're ready.
Ready.
Starting. Yep, a little bit of salt on this, a little bit of chlorine on this, but that's it.
Great. Our
And
baskets are safe.
yeah, your baskets are right. And a little bit of bromine on that too. So
Great.
And it looks like we brought up some more moccasins. We will do those.
all right.
Is it okay to test and
Yeah,
use the
that's
flapper?
good.
Okay.
All right, let me know when you're ready.
Ready. And this is 73.1. Oh, sorry.
No, you get 73.1.
0.3.
Got it.
Salt wash.
Okay.
Do we want to do beads real quick? Because let's do the red
Red.
bead there. Yeah. So let me add this. That
That was
spectrum.
just the leather.
It was the leather flap.
All right, ready?
Ready.
So lead glass,
Yep.
more arsenic than the other ones. But it's a hematite color, so yeah.
Okay.
So don't eat.
Hematite is iron.
Yeah, hematite. All right. I mean, it might not be appropriate to call it hematite if it's in the glass, but like, you know, iron based. All right. You'll be right there on that flat.
Right. I am ready.
All right, starting. Got it. So a little bit of salt, no bromine, a lot of zinc though, a lot of zinc. So that's more modern.
Okay.
Relatively speaking, I don't know, like whatever this is, it's after contact.
Okay.
So the zinc is the tell.
Should we try these colored beads?
Yeah,
A
I
little
think
bit
that'd be great.
different color.
The green is definitely
Yeah.
different.
Okay.
So let's,
And do you need the object number on this still?
Yeah, but you can do it at the end.
Okay.
all right, so,
I'm ready when you are.
all right, starting. Lead glass. No arsenic. And copper is our colorant.
Wow, okay.
A little bit of chromium thrown in there, but I'm surprised there's no arsenic actually.
Okay.
All right, ready to do this?
Yeah, so it's actually C74.3.4.
Got it.
Yeah,
Mine, guys.
Where's Marianne?
Yeah.
Become a well-oiled machine, right? In the beginning, I was like, well, we're gonna need 4 more days of this to
Yeah,
get through
no.
everything.
Well, so whenever I usually do worksheets, so like this is different because we've got a grant to fulfill.
Right.
But I always draw out the first analyses
Yeah.
because a lot of people are still kind of getting.
Well, that's why it kills me that we didn't get those recorded.
I know. Well, so for lucky Anastasios reported the first check. I don't know. You know, it's late over
Sure.
where they are, so I don't know. Yeah. No, I you know, when we started, I you know, I felt so gun shy about the. Yeah.
I know,
anyway,
no,
we'll see.
it's small potatoes.
Yep. All right. Let's get the leather there. Yeah.
Okay. I'm ready.
All right. Starting.
And this, Marion, is, if you're ready for the object number, 73.1.1.
Anastasios is still logged in as a participant, so.
Okay. Cool. Can you flip the leather over here? Is there anything underneath there?
Oh, some ink.
Because there's a lot of something on this. Okay.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah.
Lead. This has got a lot of lead on it.
Do you think it's from?
A little bit of arsenic too. No, it's treated.
Okay.
If you're measuring right here, right?
Yep.
Yeah. No, this is the leather here is treated with has got lead on it.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's also salt washed, but lead is on top of that. A lot of lead.
Do we want to test any of this coloring? Or is
I
that
think
good?
it's going to be a lead-based glass. Yeah.
This is one of them,
Yeah.
and that was the leather.
Yeah.
It was. I think that's why we have this one covered. Because of the lead.
Yeah.
Okay, you want to do this?
Yes.
Realistic.
Is everything else on the card finished, or where are we stand on that?
I think we're done with the
That
part.
is the
Yeah.
last object, I think.
Okay, you get 2 objects off of exhibit next door. With that card, let me just check. Do you have any questions here?
This object number
Elizabeth, can I
is
partially need
73.7.
to assist in your response? It's mainly the door, you need to open the door.
Right.
So I need to Actually, this is gonna put the cart back. We need the cart.
So I think let's measure here. Well, I'd rather do here, up here actually. Because there might be, I don't want to get whatever is right here.
Saddlebags, handbags.
So,
I'm not quite sure what it is. I think it's a historic.
I'm ready.
starting.
Carrying satchel. All this is done.
All of it's done. We're in the clear on the baskets.
Yeah, all our baskets are just baskets.
Yep.
Yeah, this doesn't look treated to me at all. Yeah, sulfur, but that's about it. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Is that close?
Is it done?
Yep, all done.
Okay. I didn't hear
You're
it.
right.
I have to check my list real quick, but I think that's it. We're 3 in the lab.
Yeah.
We're testing the other stuff. That's about 15 things right there.
Lee, you would still have all the data from the test that we did
Yeah,
last
Yeah.
semester, right? Or
Yeah.
I
whatever
think
that
my
was.
list about basically.
yeah, because it's already been tested, so, yeah, that's the stuff in the lab.
I'll double check, but I think we just have 3 things in the lab to do.
Okay. All right, any questions for participants who are still with us? While we're,
It might be a little bit, they'll put all of those
Yeah.
back a little bit.
All right.
We might want to wrap up the Zoom session.
okay, that works, that works.
It'll probably be 10 minutes before we have the class, and then we're right at 4 o'clock.
That works. All right. So let me take over here. So we're going to stop
We've
sharing.
got 14 people still on.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to take off if everyone else is gone. Oh, it's weird not to wear a mask. So for those of you who are still with us, thank you so much for joining us here today as we analyze most of these objects. I hope we were able to answer your questions directly when they came up. If you have any others, you are always welcome to contact us separately. My email once again is b.lee.drake@gmail.com. And my website is www.xrf.guru, G-U-R-U. Thanks to Andy for not just setting this up, but also working hard to get the grant approved. And it was certainly a chaotic process given the crisis the world's been engulfed in over the past few months. So I'm very appreciative of him for that. If you have any questions, we'll leave the Zoom session open. We're actually going to have to close it now because we're going to need to relocate. So feel free to email me if you have any questions. Thank you very much, I hope this finds you well and healthy. All right, thank you very much, everyone. We'll talk to you later. Bye.